bats start cracking,
It is gone!
we bring you the voice of Bay Area baseball for the past 29 years.
As I always say, baseball reflects what life is all about.
This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Lurie.
That's what we do. We talk ball.
On KNBR, the sports leader.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Talkin' Baseball on this Sunday morning as we get ready for Game 3 between the Giants and the Seattle Mariners. And the game yesterday, the Giants win it 4-3, and it was a tight ball game. A lot of things happened yesterday, but it made me realize that if they didn't hand the game to the Seattle Mariners on Friday night, and Seattle took it, they took it, but if the Giants didn't hand it to them on Friday night, they would be going for the sweep today. I think the Giants are just a lot better than Seattle, and Seattle struggles to score any runs. And if it wasn't for Blake Snell yesterday having the control issues, I'm not sure Seattle would have scored many runs in the day anyway. But the Giants win it 4-3. It was a crazy game, wasn't it? Blake Snell goes out. He's from Seattle. And I know the guys talked about this, and Will and I should talk about this too, playing before the hometown fans. And who knows what the demands were on his time up in Seattle, getting up there on Thursday before the game and all that kind of stuff. But he just didn't look like the same pitcher that he had been the last 4 or 5 starts. And when you go out and you walk 6, and you walk 2 with the bases loaded, you're not having a good day. And that was Blake Snell yesterday. And he was just all over the place. And credit Bob Melvin. He got him out of there. I mean, he had only thrown 74 pitches, and Bob Melvin got him out of there and turned it over to Spencer Bivens, who really was the star of the game, and settled everything down and gave the Giants 3 solid innings of 2 hits. You know, he throws strikes. He's not a strikeout guy. He's one of those guys. He throws strikes, and he's young in terms of experience in the major leagues, even though he's been around and pitched in France and independent league and all that. But he did a good job yesterday against a Seattle team that, let's face it, they just have trouble scoring runs. What in the world has happened to Julio Rodriguez and Randy Arozarena and Mitch Haniger? They can be dealt with in a lineup, and unless you're going to hand them the game, it's real tough. I understand now how they went from 10 up to 4.5 back, and if I'm the Houston Astros, I am not going to worry about the Seattle Mariners in this American League West. But for the Giants yesterday, 9 walks given up by the ball club is just too much, and as I say, unless you're going to hand it to Seattle, it's going to be tough for them to take it. Snell, 40 pitches in just the second inning. And as I say, Bivens came in and got him out of trouble. The Giants hit well yesterday. They did. I know that 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position. That's an old story. The last 3 games now, whether, let's see, 4 for 20 and 2 for 13, that's 6 for 33. In their last attempts with runners in scoring position, and it goes back even worse than that. It was, 26 out of 160 or something like that. So they still don't make it happen. But you know something? They ran yesterday. They got 4 stolen bases, and McRae gives them another weapon, and he's holding his own right now. He's playing good center field, and he really is holding his own. Fitzgerald gets on. And now he's getting the confidence to run. He had a couple of stolen bases yesterday. And Estrada, when he's healthy and can get on base, he's a threat to run. So they had 4 stolen bases yesterday. But Chapman, a clutch sacrifice fly, got the Giants on the board. A lot of 2-out hitting yesterday. Estrada got a base hit following Yastrzemski's 2-out double. Fitzgerald got a base hit to drive in a run. And then Yaz hit a home run. He almost hit for the cycle. He got 3 hits yesterday, and we joke about it. No matter what he does, he's hitting 240. He could go 3 for 4. What's he hitting? 240. He went 0 for 7. What's he hitting? 240. That's what he is. He's a 240 hitter, but he plays good defense, and he does come through every once in a while. and he really lifted the ball club yesterday. So I thought he did a good job, and it's worth mentioning him about it. Kirby for the Mariners yesterday, he didn't, big hype, but didn't show me much. He was very inconsistent yesterday, and the Giants got him out at 4 2/3. The Seattle bullpen is good. That is the one part of the Seattle team you don't necessarily want to get into a deep bullpen game with them. They've got some people who can throw. But the Giants bullpen hung in there. Hicks, you got to tell me what's up with him. He does not look like the same pitcher. I don't know what it is. Maybe he started too much. Maybe the arm is tired. Now he's back to being a reliever. Just not throwing the same. But for Arozarena swinging at ball 4, he really would have had trouble. And that basically got Hicks out of a real bad jam. Even though on review Arozarena beat it out, it gave up a run. But it got Duvall into the game. And if you're going to bring Duvall into the game at that point, he did a very good job of ending the inning for the Mariners. And Duvall, even in the next inning, if you got to deal with Mitch Haniger to get you out, you can get things done. And he got Mitch Haniger when he had to get him. Mitch Haniger was really struggled, too. He's another one the Giants had. Justin Turner, how about him? Does not look like the same hitter as well. So for the first 2 games, as I say, the Giants should be in a position to sweep today, but they gave it away on Friday night. And yesterday they do win it 4-3. Left 11 on base. Seattle left 10 on base. And Bivens ended up with the win. Walker came in, got the save. And I want to say about Duvall. Duvall got out of trouble in that 7th inning, gave him a fairly solid 8th inning. And then Walker came in and did his job in the 9th inning. And as Bob Melvin said after the game, he is the closer. All right, so for the Giants, they are now 28-37 on the road. They go for the series win today against the American League. They're 18-21. They've got 7 games left, 3 with the Orioles. Won't be simple. And then 3 with Kansas City. And Kansas City and the Phillies are having a pretty good series right now. Kansas City with Vinny Pasquantino and Bobby Witt and Sal Perez. They're doing some good things, and Lugo goes for him today for Kansas City against the Phillies. But those are the games they have left. 1 with Seattle today, and then they've got 6 more with the American League. Against the West, they're now 8-7, and this will be the last game against the West, the American League West for the Giants. So they're at 8-7 right now. Since the break, the Giants are 19-15, but Arizona is 23-6. And they've won 5 straight, and we're going to get to see Arizona next week. Milwaukee for 3, and I said, you get Savali, Peralta, and this kid Myers. Harrison's going to be in the rotation. Webb is going to be in there as well. I imagine probably see Birdsong in there. This is going to be an interesting series, Giants and Milwaukee. Milwaukee's just knocking the A's around pretty good. Vince Contronio, who does the A's broadcast, will be with us later in the show, talk a little bit about the Brewers and about the A's. But after the Brewers, it's Miami here. Miami's pitching staff is just getting torched by the Cubs. Hey, watch the Cubs. In this wild card race, this crazy wild card race, the Giants are 66-65. They're 5 back of Atlanta. Atlanta wins every game 3-2 or 4-2. I'm telling you, Laureano hit a home run yesterday. Arcia hit a home run yesterday. And they are so decimated, but they still win, and they've got a great, great bullpen. And they've got good starting pitching. So Atlanta is starting to win a little bit more. I think they've won like 10 out of 13, something like that. So the Giants are 5 back with 65 losses of Atlanta. But Atlanta does have that tiebreaker. The Mets, yesterday, a big win for them, and they are 2.5 back and 2.5 ahead of the Giants, but they beat San Diego yesterday, and this David Peterson is, 7-1, 8-1, something like that. But Lindor and Mark Simon and I, Mark is going to be with us this Sunday morning. We'll talk a little bit about Lindor. A slam yesterday, 2 homers for him. 27 on the year for Francisco Lindor, and you start looking at the Mets, and they're still hanging around. Pete Alonso's got 27. Vientos is hitting, and they knocked San Diego around, really, and this Michael King a lot yesterday. So the Mets have 62 losses. They're 2.5 back. And today, the Mets have Quintana going against San Diego today, so we'll see what he can do. He has not pitched well recently. But what got me onto this about the wild card, the Cubs are now 65 and 65, and they're knocking the Marlins around, and the Giants get the Marlins for 3 next weekend. And again, this is, we've said this too many times over the last couple of weeks. That is a series for sure the Giants should win, and they should win them all. Truthfully, when you look at the Marlin pitching and the Marlin bullpen and what the Giants should have set up for next weekend. And then after that, it is Arizona coming in. And as I said, 23 and 6, they've won 5 straight. Gallen for them yesterday, excellent game, his first good game in a while. But this Eugenio Suarez, Gino Suarez, the third baseman, couldn't hit a lick in Seattle. It was great in Cincinnati. Remember, he had like 48, 49 home runs one year. He's having a year for the Diamondbacks, and that's what it takes. To win, you got to have people who come through, and it's a surprise. He's got, as I looked it up, 76 RBIs now for him. And he had a big game yesterday, a big double against the Boston Red Sox. It was interesting with Gallen. I have to ask Woe about this if he ever did it, being a guy from New England. You ever go in the wall at Fenway? You go behind the scoreboard, and it's a big treat, and you sign your name on the wall and all that stuff. But Zach Gallen did that yesterday, and he talked about that. So for him, it was cool. Corbin Carroll, his 12th triple. His 12th triple, and he leads the National League with triples. I think Bobby Wood is still leading baseball with 13 triples. So that's a little bit of what happened yesterday. So Arizona 3 back of the Dodgers. Dodgers lose yesterday 9-8 to Tampa Bay. The bullpen coughed it up for the Dodgers yesterday. But Ohtani, home run number 41, 40 stolen bases for him. But 9-8 for the Dodgers. Kershaw did not do well. They cannot rely on Kershaw, I'll tell you that. There's no way when it comes to the playoffs that unless you're up 3-0 in games, you're giving him a start. Because it as much as they love him and all that stuff, boy, when he doesn't have it, and it happens every other game, he can get hit, and Tampa Bay knocked him around yesterday. But they come back and beat the Dodgers 9-8. Got a home run in the 9th inning and a 2-run homer in the 10th, and ended up beating the Dodgers 9-8 yesterday. So Arizona's 3 back of the Dodgers, still a race. San Diego 4.5 back, and the Giants 11.5 back. You can kiss that goodbye. But the wild card still very much alive with the Giants with 31 games to go. All right, so today it's Robbie Ray on the hill. Formerly of the Mariners, and of course the Giants made that trade and got rid of Haniger, thank goodness, for Robbie Ray. For Robbie Ray, as I look at my notes, it doesn't matter. The notes don't matter. The games don't. Just let's see what he's got. The one game against Atlanta, he had nothing. It was all over the place, and he got blasted out in the first inning. But other than that, he comes right at you. You know that. He'll be grunting and groaning and all that and come right at you. And if he throws strikes, he's very, very tough to hit. So hopefully Robbie Ray gives him a good game today. The kid on the other side is Brian Wu. He is from the East Bay. He's been terrific for Seattle. He's, of the 3 we've seen, Castillo is not that good. The home runs on Friday night. Kirby they got rid of in the 5th inning. This kid is pretty good. His last 4 games, 27 innings, 16 hits, 5 runs, a homer, 3 walks, and 24 strikeouts. So Brian Wu is very good. He is from Alameda. He's from Oakland. He's from the East Bay. And he's been really a nice kid, 24 years old. The whip is .083. Righties 174. Of the 5 homers he's given up, all to left-handers. So the Giants, I'm sure, will have that left-handed lineup in there today. But at home, he's pitched 35 innings here at Safeco, and he's only getting whatever they call that field now, T-Mobile Park or something. He's only given up one homer in 35 innings there. Conforto 1 for 2, Chapman 0 for 3, Schmidt 0 for 2, Wade 1 for 3, and Yaz 0 for 2. All right, that's a Sunday morning as we get ready for baseball. We've got our contest going, dinner for 2 at Original Joe's. Just guess the score of the game. Tweet it into me at Baseball Marty. And additionally, Raf, if you're a participant, Raf picks out someone who didn't win in the big contest for dinner for 2 at Soto Mare in North Beach with Rich and Laura Azzolino. That's a lot of fun. All right, the professor next, right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Experience the epitome of luxury and craftsmanship with Inicio Windows and Doors, another exciting product line from BMD Manufacturing. Inicio Windows and Doors sets the standard in ultra-premium European design. Wow. For the most demanding American building standards. Available both in steel and aluminum, they are meticulously engineered to elevate your living space to new heights of sophistication. Learn more about Inicio Windows and Doors today. Discover the perfect blend of European beauty and style with unwavering durability and strength. Visit InicioWindows.com. INICIO Windows.com. Inicio Windows and Doors, where European design meets American craftsmanship. Fans, it's great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball. We're joined by Grant Power, the president and CEO of Nations. Grant, a quick question for you. What do you like for breakfast when you go to Nations?
My choice, I go with the two-egger, and I either go super crispy bacon or I go wild salmon. I substitute that in. I love both of those meat choices. I'm pretty much 50-50 on both of those. And then I go over medium on my eggs, and I ask for chopped onions on top of those. And then again, 50-50, I go either French toast substitute or I go hash browns and toast. And if I go hash browns and toast, I almost always pick English muffin as my bread. Definitely do coffee, definitely do orange juice, and I'm always filled up. I usually don't need anything until a late lunch, and there are lots of wonderful breakfasts, but that's my top choice.
Well, I love it. All right, Grant, you're making me hungry. Thanks for being on. We'll talk to you again.
Always a privilege. You take care, Marty.
That's Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations. Fans, it's great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball. We're joined by Grant Power, the president and CEO of Nations. Grant, a quick question for you. What do you like for breakfast when you go to Nations?
My choice, I go with the two-egger, and I either go super crispy bacon or I go wild salmon. I substitute that in. I love both of those meat choices. I'm pretty much 50-50 on both of those. And then I go over medium on my eggs, and I ask for chopped onions on top of those. And then again, 50-50, I go either French toast substitute or I go hash browns and toast. And if I go hash browns and toast, I almost always pick English muffin as my bread. Definitely do coffee, definitely do orange juice, and I'm always filled up. I usually don't need anything until a late lunch, and there are lots of wonderful breakfasts, but that's my top choice.
Well, I love it. All right, Grant, you're making me hungry. Thanks for being on. We'll talk to you again.
Always a privilege. You take care, Marty.
That's Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations.
Time now to go to Sunday school with the professor.
Hey, Professor, take it easy, will you?
Giants coach Ron Wotus with Marty Lurie.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to get involved with the discussion, Mr. Helper.
On your home of Giants baseball.
Good answer. I like the way you think.
KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Brought to you by River Islands, one of the country's top-selling master plan communities just across the Altamont in Lathrop. Where else can you live on a lake next door to a park or walking distance to your kid's new school? With 10 new neighborhoods, River Islands is the one place you can't afford to miss.
All right, as we bring in the professor on Sunday morning, Whoa, how are you?
Marty, I'm doing extremely well, and I hope you are as well.
Yeah, everything. Raph is hungry this morning. He played the nation spot twice today. So I said he must be hungry this morning for breakfast. But, all right, something different happens at the ballpark every day. Friday night, Tyler Rogers gives up 6 hits in a row. It's never happened before. I guess Affeldt gave up 5 in a row once. And then yesterday, Blake Snell goes out there, the Cy Young Award winner, and he throws 40 pitches in the second inning and walks in 2 runs and walks 5 in an inning. How about that?
Yeah, and with a no-hitter, too.
Right.
So, yeah, don't try to figure out baseball, right, Marty? You never know what's going to happen in this game. You have a great pitching matchup one day, two guys, and lo and behold, the score is 13-12. So that's why the game's so beautiful. You don't know what's going to happen. Raj never had an inning like that. Not many Giant relievers ever have, and he's been such a workhorse and such a mainstay and important part of that bullpen, pitching high leverage innings for the Giants. So sometimes the baseball gods have it in for you.
I thought Bivens saved the day yesterday. He comes in, and look, he's not a big strikeout guy. Tyler Rogers, not a big strikeout guy. So the ball is going to be put in play, but if they have their command, generally they get away with it.
Yeah, Roger, in that streak there, the 6 hits, 4 were hit hard, and we don't see that against him. And I know at least 3 of them, his location was good. A pitch was up and in. It was on the corner. It wasn't right down the middle. But, he doesn't have high velo. And, certain hitters couldn't handle that. You mentioned Bivens. He's another guy that the ball's in play, a sinker baller. And it's you got to play defense behind him, and I think that's what makes him very successful as well. Is he just pounds the strike zone, right? And you got to be ready defensively. He pounds the strike zone. He throws a lot of strikes. But he has three good pitches, Bivs. I mean, he's got a nice sinker. He's got a little breaking ball, and his changeup's very good. And all that movement on the pitch makes it hard to square it up.
You know, it's funny. Years ago, they'd say, go to Mexico in the winter and learn how to pitch, with all the curveballs, and learn how to hit and all that kind of stuff. This guy pitched in like 5 independent leagues, and he pitched in France in front of the Eiffel Tower. He must have learned something about how to throw a strike. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Well, he's persevered. I really like the kid a lot. He's so grounded. He's been around the world playing this game, and he got an opportunity. Worked himself into that opportunity in AAA, and then he's doing it in the big leagues. And one thing that comes to mind, we're watching a lot of these sinkers get hit. The sinker, a lot of pitching coaches today, they're getting away from the sinker and they're going with the four-seamer. Well, the sinker was a mainstay forever, but, unless you have the type of movement and sink on the sinker that Logan Webb has or Bivens, just a little movement, the hitters are hitting this pitch. Everybody's going to the four-seam, throwing the four-seam up in the zone, And the four-seam's always been a location pitch. But the sinker was a mainstay for a lot of pitchers. You think of Greg Maddux and others that were able to utilize that sinker. And I guess the degree of sink is important on your sinker to be successful, and Bivens has that.
It's funny. We talk about all these different pitches, the four-seam, which is sort of a straight fastball, is top of the strike zone, and you better get it in the right spot or else they'll get under it and hit it out. But what does a sinker do? Look, you faced them. Well, if you're a hitter and the guy's going to throw you a sinker, why is it so tough to hit a sinker? What is it?
Well, it's more of a drop pitch. It's like a split in many ways. I mean, the bottom does fall out and it has movement. It can, if you're a right-handed pitcher, it can run in on your hand. Typically a right-handed pitcher, he throws a slider or a curveball, it's breaking away from you. But the sinker, it runs in, and the real good ones have some depth. And that's what makes it tough to hit, keeping the hitter off balance. So you think of Webby, so he throws a sinker. He can throw a pitch coming towards you as a right-hander. He throws the slider, which is breaking away. It's moving that way. Both pitches aren't dead straight. Where your eyes are on it, and wherever you see it released, you can get on that plane to hit it. And then he throws that changeup, which goes, and it just never gets there. It looks like a sinker, and all of a sudden it dies and it goes down. So he's got pitches moving 3 different directions.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what makes the sinker so good, that it moves, it sinks, it runs in, if it's a righty, and it also sinks and has some depth to it.
All right. Well, we'll see what Robbie Ray, to me, is not a sinker baller. He just throws it as hard as he can and watch out. So that's what I think we'll see from him today. Right.
Yeah, he's a four-seam guy. He throws four seams, a lot of fastballs up in the zone, and he has a slider and a curveball. He really doesn't throw a changeup either. So, he comes at you, like you said.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Just looking at what happens in this series, a couple of interesting baseball things. One, this little guy Rivas, and he got the hit off Miller to win the game on Friday night. A devastating we handed it to him, kind of loss for the Giants. But he choked up on the bat. And yesterday he choked up on the bat, too, with 2 strikes. And I liked it. And, we talk about situational hitting all the time. I don't remember seeing guys change their hands on the bat within one at bat. Now, you see some guys come up and they choke up a little bit, but he choked up for a situation to get better control of the bat. And some people, they say that some people choke up so much their hands are near the barrel of the bat. But it's interesting to talk about it because it does give you an ability to handle the bat.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And, any of your listeners that are probably 35 or 40 and older, I mean, that was a mainstay of how we played the game, right? You get 2 strikes, you choke up on the bat. It was automatic. And the game has evolved in the hitting today. Do damage, the launch angle stuff, get the ball in the air, take your best swing. I mean, home runs win you games, there's no doubt about it. But the scoreboard and the situation dictates whether you need to put the ball in play or you need to drive a ball. And, you talk about situational hitting, like you said, and most of situational hitting is adjusting your swing. It's not your A swing all the time. You're not trying to do one thing and do damage. You're playing to what you need on that team to advance a runner, to get him in from third, and that's just what Rivas did. I mean, he had 2 strikes. He choked up on the back, and Miller threw him a little slider down, and he not only is he choking up, he's shortening his swing, right? He just wants to put the ball in play, because if you put the ball in play, good things will happen. And that's what you really need to do. You have to have a different approach, change your swing, choke up on the bat. Don't take a monster hack like it's a 3-0 count or a 3-1 count, and you're trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And that's playing baseball. And, I'd like to see more of it myself, Marty, because it plays, and winning teams do those things.
Yeah, I said it in the open today. The Giants are 6 for 33 with runners in scoring position in the last 3 games, and that's trouble. You're asking to be in tight games, and they ended up losing 2 of the 3, and the offense didn't come through. A couple of things. One other part of that Friday night game, and JT Snow is listening to our show, and a great ball player, and he texted me and said, "Boy, Schmidt should have tagged up on that line drive in the 10th." Now, Schmidt is the ghost runner at second. Nobody's out. And Fitzgerald hits that line drive to center field, and Julio Rodriguez comes in, makes a diving catch, and Schmidt is kind of 5, 6, 7 strides off the bag, gets back and can't tag up. And JT said, "Nobody out, you got to tag up." And I thought I'd throw that one at you. Schmidt, second base, should he have tagged up?
Well, first of all, it's great to hear JT listening. JT, great to see you back coaching, getting in the game. I'm excited about that. We all know he's going to be over there with the Oakland Ballers helping out. So I'm happy to hear that. But back to Schmitty, tagging. It's a tough one. I mean, look, JT's right. Nobody out. You want to get to third base. But, it was a line drive. And it boils down to sometimes to the instincts of the player and their read on the ball. Now, it's a line drive to center field. You don't have great perception on it, on whether it's going to carry or it's going to fall in there. And I think Schmitty in that situation was expecting the ball maybe to fall in front of the outfielder. And now if the ball falls in front of the outfielder and he's tagging up, he probably won't even get to third because it was a shallow line drive. And that would have been ugly as well, to not get to third on a base hit there. So he was off the base. The other point is, JT's right. Anytime there's a ball in the air and you can tag, and you can tag and go to third, you always tag up. And then I don't think he was sure that the ball was going to be caught, and that's where he got caught off the bag. Yeah. So I give him a pass a little bit on that one because it's a tough read. It's dead center field, and your angle's not real good. And the outfielder dove and caught it. Now, if the outfielder was a lot deeper, or was a higher fly ball, and you see he's going to dive, I'm going to get back and tag. Once I see that guy go to dive, I'm going to go back to tag if it's I see the outfielder going to dive too.
Yeah, I'm with you. Short line drive. He was in no man's land. It was a tough read. That was a tough read.
It was a tough read.
All right,
yeah.
But I think the point is, Professor, nobody out. You're tagging up. If you're on second base, you're tagging up. If that ball's yeah. Okay. Right. All right. That's something to watch for today. The White Sox were in. Whoa. What can I say? You look at Seattle. They don't hit. The White Sox don't hit. John Brebiu was in town with the White Sox. He still can grow a beard. How about that?
Yes, he can. He's a fun guy to be around. I had a chance to catch up with him and talk with him. Everything's going good for him. I mean, he's, other than being with the White Sox, who are having a rough go, I don't wish that upon anybody having a season like that. But, he's closing games for them. He's pitching well. So a lot of good things going on for him. Happy to see him.
Yeah, he was fun. I'd see him in spring training. He was completely clean-shaven, completely. And he would say, okay, this is it. I'm not going to shave again until the end of the season. And he did it, and he's still doing it. How about that?
Yeah, he's a fun guy. He's quirky. Like I said, always fun to talk to him, and great to see him.
Yeah, I'm glad he's doing well. The White Sox, when they lose today, it will be their 100th loss of the season. Unbelievable. The Mariners changed managers. Easy to say. What's it like when you change managers for a ball club? And I think about it, you're married to someone and one day and you say, well, you're not married to that person anymore. And the next day, you're now married to this person. Good luck. What's it like changing managers in a clubhouse?
Yeah, well, I guess it all depends, on who the manager is and whether the players like him or not. I think when you're a younger player too, you really don't you really don't put as much credence into who your manager is. I talk to young players, and sometimes I'll ask them who their coaches were or their manager. They can name the manager, but they couldn't name all the coaches on the team because you're thinking about yourself and your own career, and you're moving through the minor league system, and it's hard to believe, but that really is the case. So, veteran guys certainly have more compassion and know where they're at and what's going on, and I think it boils down to whether you like the manager or you don't. If the team's, having problems and there's a culture problem or, because let's face it, that's how managers get fired. It's, win-loss records, but also sometimes it's just the attitude of the club and whether the players like them. I mean, that's the bottom line. If they're not successful and the players aren't happy, you got a lot of disgruntled guys, the manager's gone. So I think sometimes, players don't mind if they change the manager, and other times they're really disappointed and they look in the mirror and they say, hey, it's not that guy's fault. They like the guy, they like the manager. He ran a good club and he gets fired, and it's a wake-up call. So the players at that point are saying, hey, I'm responsible for this, not him. We need to play better, and a lot of times they do.
Yeah, you like to hear that, but boy, it's one thing. You wake up one day, this is your manager. Next day, this is your manager. So it's got to be something that you have to get used to. So I'm glad we could talk about it. How about Edgar Martinez as the hitting coach? And they showed him on TV a bunch of times. I know you're doing NBC Sports Bay Area this weekend. They showed Edgar maybe 20 times. He never moved. He never had changed his expression. The guy just kept looking.
Yeah, well, you know what? He was a tremendous hitter, and to be a good hitter, you have to have a slow heartbeat.
He's got it.
And I think he's coaching the same way. He's in the moment, he's paying attention, and he's not going to get too excited and not be under control, so to speak. So yeah, I know it was good to see him in the dugout, but you're right. Every time they showed him, he was in the same spot with the same expression.
Same thing. He never changed, and he's the hitting coach. We'll see if he shaved today. It looked like he had a couple. Maybe he's not going to shave until something happens here. All right, it'll be fun to see Edgar Martinez, great Hall of Famer. I love him. There's a great hitter. After this, it's off to Milwaukee. Look, it's going to be close to September, and we're seeing Milwaukee for the first time. But it means the Pfister Hotel, Pfister Hotel, is in play. And, that's the place that the players actually thought was haunted. And here we are at the Pfister again. I think Mookie Betts, for some reason, brought it up last week that he wouldn't go there under any circumstance.
Well, that's right. Well, it's been on these TV shows that it's supposedly haunted. And for years and years and years, you always had 5 or 6 players on the team that didn't want to be there. And, of course, a lot of players, they would embellish the haunted part of it and pick on some of their teammates. I remember, we had a couple players. I can't remember who they were. I think it was Brandon Belt when he was, first or second year in the league. They snuck in his room. They talked to the people at the hotel. They got a room key from the traveling secretary in the hotel early. they went and snuck in Belt's room, and they were in the closet. and before he checked in, and when he checked in, he laid down. He was getting ready to go to sleep, and they came out of the closet, and he about had a heart attack. So, and I know myself and some of the other coaches, Juan Lopez, he hated staying at the Pfister because, he thought it was haunted. He wasn't and it's an old building. If people haven't been there, hotel's been around forever. They got a new section and an old section. In the old section, they had these giant chandeliers hanging down the hallway, like every 20 feet. So when we check in, I'd run up to the floor that he's on. Coaches usually stayed on the same floor. And I'd go get to the chandeliers, and I'd push him. And, of course, I knew he was coming up right behind, and he'd get out of the elevator and be like the long hallway, and all the chandeliers are going back and forth. So it was a fun place. And I got to tell you, though, the Giants, they're not staying at the Pfister this time around. I think the legend is too strong, and nobody wants to be there anymore.
That's a good hitting park, isn't it, Miller Park?
Oh. I think it's one of the best in baseball, actually. The roof's closed a lot. The ball carries, and I think it's right up there in the top 3 ballparks in the country, or at least in the National League for hitting.
Yeah, Posey. Remember Posey used to just smack him off that center field, the batter's eye?
Oh, yeah. Posey, and, of course, Cross, grand slam. There,
that's right.
His first at bat. I mean, there's usually a lot of home runs. I think in general, even though we moved our fences in at our ballpark, whenever the team goes on the road, especially when the fences were back and the park played a lot bigger, when we went on the road, we hit home runs, and we come home and you win. And, of course, the park's a lot more fair now with, I think the second shortest or the shortest center field in baseball. But it's at sea level. You have the wind that swirls. It can knock the ball down. A lot of night games, the fog. So it does affect the ball carrying. The day game, it carries better at home. But usually you go on the road and you get in Colorado or Cincinnati or Milwaukee, and that's the time to get fat, and the ball carries a lot better for you.
Yeah, let's hope the Giants do. They've got 3 tough games coming up with Milwaukee, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. A couple of last things. I saw a great nickname, and this guy for Cleveland, and we saw him against the Giants. He had a big home run. He's a big hitter. I think it's Joneski Noel is his name, and his nickname is the Big Christmas. I like that.
I like it too. I don't know who came up with that, but the Big Christmas. I didn't hear that nickname. I haven't seen the guy, but that's a good one. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, the other one was Choo Choo Coleman, the old catcher for the New York Mets. It's his birthday today. I happened to notice that. Choo Choo Coleman was his nickname, Choo Choo. And they asked him after the game to talk to him about his family, and they said, "What's your wife's name?" And he looked and he said, "Mrs. Coleman." And that was it.
And that was it.
That was the 62 Mets.
Marty, only you have this information. And maybe Chris Berman, with all the nicknames he would throw out, would know about Choo Choo Coleman.
Yeah, the Boomer, he'd be good. Yeah, he'd be perfect for it. One last very quick. Kirby kept wiggling his glove, Are you allowed to do that, the pitcher yesterday?
Yeah, I'd have to ask Eddie Montague on this one because, he's at the set position. It's kind of like these guys that tap their feet, 1, 2, 3, and they settle and stop. As long as he's stopping that, wiggle before he goes, I guess it's fine. I mean, nobody's going to call a balk on it. I don't think anybody's brought it up yet. He's just wiggling his hands for a long time. It does look a little odd. It's funny how these deliveries today, there's so many different deliveries and rules have to be adjusted, et cetera, that these little nuances come up and you wonder if it's, within the rules or not. And, I'm going to say it's just fine. Obviously, nobody's called a balk. So we'll check with Eddie on that one when you get a chance.
Yeah, I think it's deceptive. So, we'll have to find out about that. George Kirby, watch him. Just wiggles his hand in the glove all the time. All right. Well, that's a good Sunday morning discussion of baseball, and I hope you have a great day today, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, Marty. Good being with you. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.
All right, that is the Professor Ron Wotus. Boy, I wanted to mention River Islands before Woe left. So many neighborhoods, and Woe and I were talking about this before he came on today, and why River Islands is special. You know, you go out shopping for a home, you may be in a certain neighborhood, and that's it. But there's so many different neighborhoods at River Islands, it really gives you a choice. So I'm glad I can mention that this morning. All right, coming up next will be Mark Simon right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Hey, it's Marty Lurie, just back from touring River Islands and Lathrop. I've got to tell you how much the community has grown and changed since the last time I visited. When we talked about its lakes, parks, and trails, I always feel that we're not quite telling you the whole story. There are 15 lakes in place and a dozen parks with playgrounds, sports fields, and picnic areas. I love visiting Islanders Field. It's turning into everything I hoped and more. The River Islands High School baseball team is going to be playing on one of the finest grass fields I've ever seen. Everything about it is first class. Where do you see it? Just like the total picture at River Islands. This is an amazing place to visit and discover. The houses are knockout gorgeous with huge kitchens and home offices. Best of all, pricing starts in the low 600,000s and tops out at just over $1 million. We always talk about it being the best-selling master plan community in Northern California, and once you see it, you'll know why. So start your tour today at riverislands.com. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands? You know it is for me.
Mark Simon. Mark, I love you, man.
Right. Great to have Mark Simon with us, as we love that introduction for him. Mark Simon of Sports Info Solutions. Mark A. Simon says on Twitter. Mark, how are you?
Good. What's up, Marty?
Well, the Seattle Mariners for me, and I expected this great pitching staff. And Friday night, Castillo gets rocked for 3 homers, just no doubters. And yesterday, George Kirby was just all over the place. And today, we get Brian Wu, who may be the best of all of them. So I'm anxious to get your thought on Brian Wu today.
Sure, he's pretty good. Like the numbers are very good, and you wonder almost that they could be even better. He throws a high fastball. He has a really good changeup and a really good slider. Pitched very well against the Dodgers, which I think speaks very well to the quality of what he brings to the table. He's impossible to square up. He doesn't give up any barrel balls. He doesn't give up many hard hit balls. Fastball is tough. Right-handed hitters, really brutal. A lot of brutal at-bats for right-handed hitters against him. He'll sneak in a sweeper every so often, and no one can touch it. He's very, very good. The only reason he's not in any sort of, like awards discussions or anything is he doesn't have the innings.
Well, he seems mortal with runners in scoring position. I will say that. Right? He seems mortal. 11 for 43.
So you got to get the runner to second base. How do you get the runner to second base?
All right. Well, you've got to hit the first pitch. 14 for 43 on the first pitch. So
you got to pick out that one.
Yeah, if I'm the Giants, I'm going to be aggressive today because if he gets you deep in the count, I think you're right. I think he can put you away, and he's not going to walk people. All right. Robbie Ray, I said throw the record books out. It doesn't matter. Every game is an adventure for him. But comes right at you. And I was talking to Woe about this. Comes right at you. But Woe said, yeah, but, the curveball slider is effective.
It is. And when he has both things going, high fastball, slider, curveball, back foot kind of stuff, those pitches, and the breaking ball that has like a real sharp drop. It's not like a horizontal pitch necessarily. It's a drop from where he releases it. When he's got that, he's very good. He went repeatedly top of the zone against the White Sox. They swung and missed 22 times, which is the most in any start this season. But, of course, as you said, it's like you never know because he could get a start like that one against the Braves. Yeah. It's funny. He's been pretty good with Kurt Casale, who I know caught yesterday. And that's been a good match so far. 4 starts with Casale, pretty good numbers. He's dominating right-handed hitters other than that blip against Atlanta.
Well, Mitch Haniger, believe it or not, who can't hit anybody, 4 for 7 with a home run against them. So maybe that we'll have to watch that one today. But other than that, he handles the lineup pretty well. From here, it's off to Milwaukee, and we haven't seen him yet. And you and I have talked about him a few times over the summer. They're knocking the A's around pretty good, but it's off to Milwaukee with Savali and Peralta and Myers against the Giants, and I just don't know what to expect from Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's a team of number 3 starters and kind of middle of the road bats without a superstar bat, particularly with Yelich out. The thing that they have going for them best at the moment is their defense. They're the top defensive team in the National League, and that's because of 2 things. One is Bryce Terang is really, really good at second base. The other is that they have 4 outfielders who can really catch it. Perkins, Frelick, Churio, and Mitchell. They have robbed 6 home runs this year, or maybe it's 7. Whatever it is, whatever the total is, it's the most in the majors. I looked it up the other day. They're good at going, like the right fielders are really good at going deep into that right field corner in Milwaukee and picking off potential extra base hits. Their starters, it's like they've got Tobias Myers, Colin Ray, who I think are household names in their household and not elsewhere. Those guys should have ERAs in the 4s, and they have ERAs in the 3s. The good thing for them, I think, also to pay attention to is they got Devin Williams back, and that makes them a lot better at the end of the game because they were patching it together with Trevor McGill and Payamps before that. Here's the thing. if you took the playoff teams in the National League right now and you looked at the odds to win the World Series, you got your 6 teams, you got your division leaders, you got your Braves, you got your Padres, and you got your Diamondbacks. The Brewers have the 6th best odds to win the World Series. So I think if you were to believe that like they weren't necessarily as good as 18 over 500 or whatever they are right now, I think that's a reasonable belief. I think they're a good team. I think if they were in the NL East, they'd probably be where the Mets are, maybe a little bit better. But I don't think that they're a great team necessarily.
Well, they got a bullpen, I'll tell you that.
Yep.
And a story of baseball is your bullpen. And we know Delvin Williams with the changeup, but they got some other people in the bullpen.
Yeah, as I was saying before, Miguel and Pamps are 2 of them. Hudson, I think, is another that are
Honig,
pretty good.
the lefty.
Koenig, yeah, they're pretty stacked. It's kind of I mentioned the defense. It's funny because it's kind of like Cleveland and Milwaukee. I think are pretty similar in that regard, in that they're trying to win this thing with really good D, really good relief pitching. They'll get you at the end of the game, and offense that's good but not necessarily epic level. And we'll see how far that takes both of those teams. I'm not particularly confident in either of them.
Well, we'll see. I keep records of starting pitching, and I noticed that they've lost 7 of the last 8 to left-handed starters. And I think the Giants are only throwing 1 in the series. I was kind of hoping maybe they could sneak Snell or Ray in there, but I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll see. But it is the Brewers coming up. Mark Simon with us. Bobby Witt, every time you turn around, Bobby Witt is doing something. But I must tell you, Aaron Judge, nobody is going to touch him for MVP.
I know that's what you say. I really feel like Bobby Witt Jr. Deserves it, though. The guy's going to go 350, 400-something, 600-something with pretty good D. He doesn't have any other guys in his lineup that can hit. Judge admittedly only has 1, but Judge and Soto are 2 of the best offensive players in baseball right now. And I just think that I think that Bobby, like, let's say Bobby Witt is like a 9 or 10 win player, I think he's even worth more than that because I think the other Royals are better because he's there. And I know that kind of goes probably against sabermetrics to say that he has a value beyond his actual value. But I just think that when you got one team that's got 2 megastars and you got one team that's got 1 that could win the division, I lean in the direction of Bobby Witt Jr.
Well, I understand, but the other guy's having the best season since Babe Ruth.
I agree. It is ridiculous. I won't dispute that. But Soto's having an epic season. Soto's having an 1,000 OPS season too.
I know. It's Maris and Mantle.
It really is.
It's Maris and Mantle again. I'm telling you, if you haven't lived through it, I did. This is Maris and Mantle. Every day, one of them did something, and that's what we got going. All right, it's a good argument. Good argument. The Mets are hanging in there. Boy, I must tell you, they're hanging in there. Vientos is playing well. Peterson had a good game for them. Quintana, I'm not thrilled with. But Lindor, that's the guy I want to talk. 27 home runs, hit 2 yesterday, 1 a slam, and he's having like one of these seasons, even in the field. Is he that good? Or is this really Francisco Lindor? Is this the true Francisco Lindor?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, and I realize there's a Puerto Rico to Puerto Rico comp here, but I think the beginning of his time was similar to Carlos Beltran's as a Met, and then Beltran after that first year had like 3 epic years in a row, and I think we're getting to the point where Lindor is having years that could qualify as epic years. He's been their best player since May. If you started the season in May, I think you could make a much more reasonable case that he's the MVP than now because of Ohtani. But he's been fantastic. Last year he was great for like 3 months, and it didn't matter because the team stunk. But this year he's been great, and it's having like impact. It's like meaningful.
Yeah, you want to talk about an MVP, and I know Ohtani's going to run away with it, but you want to talk about an MVP, Lindor is my Bobby Witt. So
you got three. Well, I think you got three guys in the NL. I think you got him, you got Marty, and you got Ohtani. I think, and Ohtani is well ahead of both of them.
yeah, it's good. All right. Good to talk to you. Next week it's the Marlins. There'll be plenty to talk about with that. So we'll catch up with you next week. Thanks, Mark.
You got it.
All right, that is Mark Simon. Always fun. Sports Info Solutions. Bruce Jenkins next, right here on the Sports Leader. It's been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, ROBBEN, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are nose to drain units. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. Such a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
Oh, you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Hey fans, Gene Bagato checked in from Bodega Bay, and he said that in addition to the usual goings-on at the Tides Wharf, the big news is across Highway 1 at the Inn. After a 4-year hiatus, the ever-popular Bayview Dining Room has reopened, serving guests Thursday through Sunday evenings beginning at 6 o'clock. Now listen to this. Chef Remy Madrid, formerly of the San Francisco Yacht Club in Tiburon, has joined the Tide staff and has created a fantastic menu offering a wide array of dishes ranging from the classic coq au vin and seared salmon to the signature dish of the house, the filet mignon Hitchcock, a 6-ounce filet topped with Dungeness crab meat. Wow! Reservations are highly recommended, so if you're looking for a getaway that offers great beaches, scenic views, and gourmet food selections, this is it. You need look no further than the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in beautiful Bodega Bay.
Look through the window of the original Joe's on North Beach and you'll see two guys at the counter talking ball. Time for you to listen in to their conversation. Marty, Lurie, and the SF Chronicles' Bruce Jenkins are looking through the window of baseball. Sponsored by Original Joe's of North Beach and Westlake on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
All right, Sunday baseball coming up. Game 3 between the Giants and the Mariners. Bruce Jenkins, good morning. How are things?
Okay, Marty. How are you?
Very, very good. Very good. Boy, you see something different at the park every day. How about Blake Snell yesterday, Bruce? I mean,
yeah,
come on.
Really? Three no-hit innings. Hey, great. He also walked 5 and threw 40 pitches in an inning. That it's just completely crazy. He's such a wacky character. It's true. Yeah, especially you never know what they're going to get from him, let alone the entire game. But they managed to survive it.
Yeah, and Hicks, to me, I wanted to bring him up to you because Hicks, to me, didn't look like the same pitcher he's been all year. And Duvall came in and not in a soft landing. They put him right in the mix, and he got it done.
Yeah, well, I was kind of surprised Hicks was out there at all. I mean, after the day before, he said something didn't feel right. That seemed strange to me. But, Duvall, and sure enough, Hicks' velocity was down. But Duvall was really the story. I mean, Walker, you come to expect him to come through. He'd pitched two innings the night before, and he still goes out there last night for another one, which was awesome. But Duvall, they're going to need him for now and the future, and he took his demotion really well. He came back, realizing that he had a lot to learn, a lot to work on, wasn't upset with anybody, and he went out there with pretty much his usual poise and threw some great pitches. He let Rosarena steal second base without even looking at him, which is a problem that he's not the only one on the team. It's a huge problem they're going to have to solve, and they haven't even begun to solve it. But, Duvall is huge. I mean, when you think about Duvall and Walker, and if Hicks can do this and Rogers, the bullpen will be good for September.
Yeah, that's the deal. The bullpen is still a big deal for me, and that's still a strength for them. The Giants are starting to run a little bit. They had 4 stolen bases yesterday, and Fitzgerald gets on. He's going, and McRae and Estrada did as well.
Yeah, I love Fitzgerald opening the game with a bunt. I mean, there's nobody anywhere near. It was a terrible bunt. It was a blooper, but the area was so wide open. He still got a hit out of it, which is it's just so smart, especially leading off the game or an inning. But they got a lot of good hitting. Estrada had a good day. McRae had a good day. Yaz had a monster day with that double and the homer, and that was good. They definitely need all of this stuff.
Yeah, Yaz, as we said last week, no matter what he does, when the day ends, he's hitting 240.
That's right. 5 for 5, 240.
240. 0 for 17, 240. That's it. The guy just can't get off 240. That's it. But he comes through. As I said, he comes through, and that was a big home run he hit yesterday. Big home run.
Yeah. He's very well liked. He's something of a spokesman for the team, good times and bad, and he does come through. He frustrates you a lot too. We all know there's a lot of holes in his swing, but he keeps coming back and does things like he did last night.
Yeah, it's a good matchup today. Robbie Ray and Wu. Wu is from the East Bay. as Mark Simon said, he's pitched great. He really has. He's got good command of everything. And Robbie Ray he's like a linebacker. You know, he's like blitzing every play. He's coming right at you.
Yeah, I love watching Ray pitch. He's such a competitor, and you see him after the game. His hair is all wild. I think his hair would look like that if he was in a tuxedo. But he's looking for a ball to throw. But I've always loved guys who are clearly, competitors out there. Bumgarner was that way in a lot different manner. But as long as they keep their command, and that has been a little problem for Ray. But he kind of came out of nowhere. He seems to be straightening things out, so we'll see how it goes today.
Yeah, you never know because he's coming back from Tommy John, and he could have a day like he had against the Braves. But, boy, unless you hand the game to Seattle, they're not taking it. They are not going to beat you. And what has happened to Julio Rodriguez and Rosarena, forget it. And then, of course, Mitch Haniger, who actually has numbers against Ray, but he can't do anything. They just don't have any power.
No, it's they keep saying they had a 10-game lead in June. I'm thinking, how? Houston got off really bad. They lost almost all their rotation to injuries, and they've rebounded. They're just a better team and will win that division. But the real story as it developed was they just don't hit, and it's a shame in Seattle because they have a great rotation. They've got one good guy after another. I mean. A better rotation than the Giants, I think, for right now. We'll see how that goes. That's very fluid. But, Woo's been good. He was out for a while, but he goes today. And so an interesting matchup for sure. Seattle, I mean, they had to fire Service. The numbers just they don't give you any other alternative.
No, and, the team needs, as Tony La Russa said, they stopped listening after a while, and you had that feeling that they needed. Will and I kind of laughed a little bit about Edgar Martinez. He never changes his expression, and he's got the slow heartbeat. He just keeps looking, and he's the hitting coach. But, boy, what a hitter he was. Wow.
Oh, my goodness. He still has the biggest hit in the history of the club. That great double down the line with Griffey scoring against the Yanks, unbelievable. And but as a hitting coach, you never know. I mean, if a great hitter is going to be a hitting coach, he doesn't seem like the super inspirational type. But I mean, it takes all kinds. You can't have a guy who looks at you different every day and has mood swings. So we'll see how that goes. They've got some decent hitters on the team. I thought Rosarena and Julio together would give them a spark, but it's kind of gone in reverse.
Yeah, it's amazing. They just don't. I don't know what it is. Rosarena looks lost at the plate, but we'll see. September's coming up. September baseball is always fun. I wanted to mention Ryan Walker with you, Bruce. He's getting better. He's getting better. That pitch is really, it's got a new life to it, and he can do the job.
Yeah, what I like about him is that you always like to have different looks out of the bullpen, like going from Javier Lopez to Brian Wilson, something like, whoa. But this guy, he comes at you with that angle, and it's just, to me, it's to be very disconcerting as a hitter because he's just barely looking at you. He's almost sideways out there, and then the pitch is going to go the other way, all the way to the other side of the plate. And it's really rough, and he's got so much movement on it. It looks like he puts a lot of effort into every pitch, and some guys that doesn't bother. Some guys maybe that'll take a toll. We don't know, but we just know that he wants the ball and he's getting people out, and he's the closer right now. And he's earned it.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid when he comes in.
Not at all.
I think he can get the job done. There are good races going on. The Guardians went wild yesterday with the home runs. The Naylor brothers homered yesterday. I think Kwan knocked one out. The big boy, the big Christmas, he hit a home run yesterday. Noel.
As opposed to Luke Easter, this is the big Christmas.
It's funny you mentioned Luke Easter. I was thinking today, and I wasn't going to even bring it up. I wasn't, because I said Cleveland's always had these big hitters. And I was thinking Rico Carty never played there, but Andre Thornton was there. And then I said, can I say Luke Easter? No one in the world will know what I'm talking about. But if you look it up, Luke Easter looked like this guy. And
I just brought him up. I know who he was.
Very good. Thank goodness. Very good. I'm glad you said that.
But, this guy, John Kenzie Noel,
Right, the big Christmas.
He's an enormous guy. It was his 11th homer, but he'd been a little bit quiet. Josh Naylor was 0 for 22. He homered. Quan had been 2 for 30. He got a big hit, and they needed that really bad because that division's closing in on them.
Yeah, Kansas City. My boy Sal Perez. He's a Hall of Famer. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. Another big home run for him. And Vinny Pasquantino. Bruce, he's got a ton of RBIs. In fact, on my list today, the RBI list, Pasquantino has 96 RBIs. How about that?
Yeah, he's third. I mean, Judge has got 119. He's going to win that category. And Ramirez from Cleveland, awesome hitter, 102. But Vinny Pasquantino has had clutch hits all year. He's 96. He's going to be a 100 RBI guy, and he's a big deal for them.
Yeah, I like it. And when we get Kansas City in September, Walt was talking about that's going to be something. Mark Simon thinks Bobby Witt should be the MVP of the American League. I said I don't think so. I think the new Babe Ruth or whatever you want to call him is going to be Judge. But Witt still has the 346. He's still leading the league.
Yeah, well, I think Kansas City would have to win that division to get Witt in that. He's in the argument for sure. I mean, 346 seems like he gets 3 hits every other night, if not, every night. And great all-around player, great presence. Really one of the great players in the game for sure. But I just think, like you say, Judge he's put himself in a different category. When you guy in a Yankee uniform is closing in on 60 homers and hitting 332 and could win the Triple Crown, that's tough to overcome.
Yeah, I think he's going to. Witt's 346 and he's fabulous, 2-3 hits a game. But boy, Judge, 332, 49 home runs and 119 RBIs, and those last two lead the league in that category. So I see it happening. Pablo Lopez, did you see him at all yesterday, Bruce? Pablo Lopez is an ace. Minnesota's only 2 back, and they've got people hitting home runs I've never heard of before.
Yeah, Lopez was extremely sharp. Who were they playing? I forget.
They played St. Louis. They knocked Sonny Gray all over the place.
Yeah, that was a tough one for St. Louis because they've been, they're right there with the Giants, basically virtually tied with them, and all of a sudden Sonny Gray gives up a couple homers and Lopez was unhittable, 7 shutout innings. And then Wilson Contreras of the Cardinals, who had already missed a bunch of time, got hit in the hand as a fracture. Yeah. He's back on the IL. So that was a really tough night for the Cards. But the Twins are great. We always talk about their health, but they always manage to stay in it, and they're 2 out.
Yeah.
Kansas City and the Twins are both just 2 games behind Cleveland, so that's going to be a phenomenal race.
Yeah, and someone mentioned yesterday, I think Joe Sheehan did, that I think Cleveland and Kansas City have a doubleheader tomorrow.
Yes, they do.
Okay, and that's good baseball. Good baseball. All right, the Phillies. Boy, they struggle. They struggle now. Of course, they did win a game yesterday. Ranger Suarez got a win, and they hit the ball pretty good. Kobe Allard goes today. They can't put Taijuan Walker out there ever again. Atlanta wins every game 3-2 or 4-2. And Bruce, I watch the Atlanta games. I do, and they just don't have hitting. But Arcia hits a home run yesterday. Laureano hits a home run. They've got a great bullpen, and I just think the Giants are chasing Atlanta. But boy, 3-2, 4-2 every game. Yeah,
well, they at a crucial time they've gotten good pitching just about this entire week. They've won 9 out of 12 now.
Yeah.
Charlie Morton was out there, gave up a couple runs, but that was about it. But they're lucky to be playing Washington. I mean, the night before they won the game on a totally routine throwing error by C.J. Abrams. Ball game over. Yeah. But I tell you, Laureano, the A's fans remember him. He came up with the A's and was just a sensation. Like a tremendous throwing arm and hitting and a totally energetic and wanted to take on the other team in a fight and a real big presence, and all of a sudden he gets suspended for 80 games and he kind of fades away. But he's back, and the Braves have him, and he had 2 hits again. He had 3 hits the previous night. And I'll tell you what's scary about the Braves is Iglesias. because he closes these games that they're in. And he'd retired 38 straight hitters the other night before he hit a guy, but he's automatic, and that's going to be big. I don't see the Giants catching them. I mean, they're essentially 6 games behind them, and the Braves are going to hit more than they have. I think that's a guarantee.
Yeah, that's the race. The Braves, Giants have to chase them, and of course the Mets are in the middle of it too. And I brought this up to Mark Simon about Lindor. Is he that good? I mean, he's got 27 home runs. He's playing great shortstop. And people in New York are going to talk Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff for Lindor. But Lindor is actually carrying the Mets this year.
Yeah, you talk about MVP. He's kind of getting himself into that mention. He didn't make the All-Star team. He was very upset by that. Trey Turner got the nod, which is fine. That's a tough hang in the league, but at shortstop. But he homers from both sides of the plate last night. One of them was a slam, and he's a guy with presence. He's a guy for the moment, and they've had a lot of moments. They got a complete game out of Severino. I mean, Jesse Winker walks off a game against the Orioles with a homer, and this lefty David Peterson. I have no idea who he is, but he pitches great every time out. So they seem to have, and this is a thing for the Giants too. I mean, the Braves are the number 3 team, and the Giants, if the Braves run away with that, then it's over. But the Mets are also ahead of the Giants, so that's a team to watch that the Giants have to watch. Yeah,
just looking at my book, Minaya also has had a really, really good season for them.
Yeah, it's so funny. The other night he had a no-hitter going. I forget what inning it was, but Austin Slater.
5 2/3 perfect.
Who, by the way, is hitting 400 for the Orioles. He's not 20-something at bats, but he's been good for them.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. I'm glad for him. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I'm glad we could talk about the Mets a little bit, Atlanta a little bit. Arizona, Bruce, they're 23-6 in their last. They won 5 straight. Gallen ends up pitching a good game yesterday, and he spent time. I'm going to ask you this. He spent time behind the scoreboard at the wall in left field at Fenway. Did you ever do that?
I have been behind the wall there, just sort of like on a tour.
Right.
But I didn't change the numbers during the game. They got a little more protective over the years. One year, way back, I borrowed somebody's glove, and I got myself down the line, and I got to the 315 sign and made it look like I was making a leaping catch against the monster. Now I'd be arrested if I even started to walk down the line, but that was a good one. I mean, Gallen was really good. They got a good start from Ryan Nelson at Fenway also. I mean, and Carroll, you realize this guy, in his last 68 games, he's scored 67 runs. What the hell? Yeah. I mean, that's a 160-run pace. That's scary good, and he makes them go. As long as he's doing that, they're going to be tough.
12 triples.
Yeah.
In
fact,
he's
a great base runner, phenomenal base runner. The most precise technical base runner there is, I think.
Yep, very, very quick. Duran, 13 triples. He leads the American League in doubles, too. How about that for Duran with 40? But Witt's got 11 triples, and Yaz still has 9 triples. He's second in the National League in triples. How about that?
I think Yaz is good for a couple more. He's been dead pulling the ball, and he'll get one or two at the Giants' yard, and I love it.
Bohm has 43 doubles, and I think he's going to be in the 50s, which is nothing to sneeze at. He's not going to get Earl Webb, we know that, or get close to Helton at 59. But I think he'll end up with 53, 54 maybe.
Which is a very good number. There's an unassailably great number.
National League, only 2 300 hitters, as you point out every week. Ozuna 307, Arise 304. That's it.
Yeah, I think Ohtani's at 294. And last night he hit a homer when he had basically no balance at the plate whatsoever, and he somehow got it out of the park. He's just a legend, nightly, the guy. And I got him winning the title. Yeah, I got him even. Arise could go crazy, but he's got a bad hand, and it's hampered him a little bit. Ohtani's at 294, Arise 304. 307. 2 guys, that looks like 1968 when Carl Yastrzemski led the American League at 301.
And you know who was second? Danny Cater. How about that?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
291, something like that.
That's the kind of year it was, yeah.
Yeah, Danny Cater was second in the American League in hitting.
Amazing.
Yeah, crazy. Looking at the risk, just one other race here, and that is the Milwaukee race, because the Giants do play Milwaukee this week. The Cubs are 10.5 out. There's no hope of catching Milwaukee, but the Cubs actually are winning games now, and they've got a little bit of momentum, and Milwaukee and the Giants meet this week. How about that?
Well, the Cubs are also in this race with the Giants, and you gotta watch out for them because they get hot and they're pretty dangerous. I think Imanaga's in the Rookie of the Year race with Fitzgerald and Skeens and Jackson Merrill, and I haven't been following the Cubs too closely. There's so much going on right now, but the Cubs are gonna be heard from. They've got some hitters and they might have enough pitching to at least stay in that wild card race.
Yeah, it makes it interesting. Cardinals, I think they're 6 back, and they've, like the Giants, they've never been able to really get great momentum going, and I just don't see it happening for the Cardinals at all.
No,
but
not really. No.
Boy, one historical note today. It's a good one. Dwight Gooden. Anything you can mention about Dwight Gooden in 1984-85? Fabulous pitcher, and he is in the news today.
Oh, my goodness. He comes out of the minors at a Class A team, Lynchburg, where he strikes out 300 guys. So
I remember that.
The Mets go, well, we just got to get him up right away. So he breaks into the bigs with 276 strikeouts, Marty.
Dwight Gooden.
Yeah, and he comes back in 1985. He goes 24-4. His WHIP, which anything around the low ones is good, was 0.965. There's never been a better pitcher breaking into the bigs, I don't think, in those 2 years. And he had a great career too. But Gooden right away was absolute revelation, and he was so talented that he did things even when his career was going downhill behind the alcohol and a lot of cocaine. I think he had 5 rehabs. He couldn't lay off it. He and Strawberry were partners in crime, going all the way back to Lynchburg when they were teammates. And we know the story of Strawberry too. But Gooden, unbelievable talent. I mean, in 1990 he went 19-7 and struck out 223. He pitched a no-hitter for the Yanks. In '96, everybody's going, "Oh, this old journeyman cokehead." He pitches a no-hitter. I mean, he was so talented, and he's been sober, I think, for maybe 10, 12 years now. But I saw a quote from him. They asked him if he goes to Cooperstown. He goes, "Yeah, I usually go for the Hall of Fame weekend, but I always have to leave before the induction ceremony. It's just too tough for me to watch," because he knows he should be there.
Yeah. Boy, 1985 on today's date, he won his 20th game, the youngest ever to win 20, a month younger than the great Bob Feller. I was thinking about, as you were talking, Vida Blue, 1971, Dwight Gooden, 1985, very similar seasons.
Yeah, exactly, and just Vida was just as spectacular. You couldn't take your eyes off him. You were just hoping that game was on TV because you heard about this guy. Very similar. Good comparison. Yeah, Van Vida, he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and they're both extremely young, and both of those guys are gifted with phenomenal arms. Vida's arm, I saw him throw VP a few years ago. He's still humming.
Oh, God. I miss him. Yeah, we miss Vida. Yeah, that's life. Boy, good to talk with you this Sunday morning. Boy, a lot of baseball ahead. What a season it's been. And we got September coming up. We got a lot to talk about. Thanks, Bruce.
You bet. Talk next week, Marty. Thanks a lot.
All right. Be well. All right. Boy, we've got more coming up. And if you're on the stream watching me, Baseball Expectations. It's a book by Patrick Montgomery. And it's candid stories of ball players who didn't live up to the hype. And we'll come back after the break and let you hear a little bit of Patrick Montgomery. It's a good book, and it's a good story about some of the personalities of the game. So we'll do that right after this.
Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Just a quick note about the rooftop restaurant at the Via Hotel, the Hotel Via across the street from the park. They do a wide variety of events on the rooftop, from weddings and birthdays to corporate retreats and special events. holiday events, and any other special occasion you can think of. With stunning 360 views of the skyline, Bay Bridge, East Bay, and of course Oracle Park, the rooftop at Via is truly one of the most unique event venues in San Francisco. Vince, it's great to have you back with us as we get ready for...
Orange and Black family, the godfather of Giants baseball now continues. This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
Vince, it's great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball. Boy, what a pleasure to bring this author to you. His name is Patrick Montgomery. The book is Candid Stories of Ball Players Who Didn't Live Up to the Hype. Baseball's Great Expectations by Patrick Montgomery. There's a great foreword in the book by Pat Gillick, Hall of Fame general manager. And, of course, the award-winning sports journalist, a good friend of ours, Bob Elliott, who worked up in Toronto. But Patrick Montgomery, let me tell you a little bit about him first. He's an award-winning writer, screenwriter, and a member of the Screen Actors Guild. His most recent book, The Baseball Miracle of the Splendid Six, garnered first place for Sports Book at the 2022 Speak Up Talk Radio Firebird Book Awards and was a winner in the 2022 Hollywood Book Festival. Patrick's also done amazing work in the defense information industry as a photojournalist. Patrick, a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for having me on.
No, we're glad. First of all, before we jump into the book, I'm so interested in photojournalism. I think it's a great part of our industry. You had a very big part in certain events in the world where you were the man who created the photojournalism. Tell us about that.
Well, the Coast Guard graced me with an opportunity to help tell the story of many, many brave men and women throughout the globe. And as part of that, I've been at crazy and insane and just controlled chaos of situations, including Deepwater Horizon and many hurricane responses and things of that such. And every time that I was in those situations, I just wanted to ensure that the people saw the best of our humanity, and it was an honor and a privilege to help do that.
Wow, terrific. Well, the book is Baseball's Great Expectations, and as I said, candid stories of ball players who didn't live up to the hype. With that background that you have, how did you get into the baseball business of writing a book like this?
Well, I was that little kid that just loved baseball. I wasn't very good at it, but boy, did I love it. And I love to hear the voices on the radio, such as Phil Rizzuto and Mel Allen and such growing up. I would smuggle a small transistor radio under my pillow and listen to the sound of Reggie Jackson and Willie Randolph and Ron Guidry and Greg Nettles. I was a Yankee fan, so I could tell you and anything about the 77, 78 Yankees, and I'm still a huge Yankee fan. I know it's not the Giants, but still a long and storied franchise, and I just love the history of baseball. After I retired from the Coast Guard, I kind of fell in love with baseball again. So I just put everything I have in my writing, and with that, baseball. And I'm glad to share both at the same time.
Wow. One thing I did notice in the book, you were present when David Wells threw the perfect game. How about that in 1998?
Oh, that was absolutely amazing. My wife and I were still not married. We were just dating, and I happily arranged to take her to a perfect game. It was hard to schedule the perfect game for that day, but I did, and I so amazed her that she decided to marry me.
Very good. It's tough to top that one. Well, let's talk about the book, Baseball's Great Expectations. Why this subject matter? And then just so the fans understand that there are about 8 or 9 wonderful, wonderful essays by Patrick in the book about these players who may have been first-round picks, big expectations, and then for some reason they didn't make it. What drew you to this type of subject?
Well, I'm a sucker for the romance of baseball. We all know the players that made it big time. We all know the Dave Winfields and the Hank Aarons and everything else. But what about the players that we grew up watching or hearing about and reading about that we knew were going to be great? Like, we absolutely knew. We absolutely knew it. We knew that Dan Pasco was going to crush 500-foot home runs for the Yankees for a decade. And you're sure of it, then it doesn't happen. But quickly, you move on. There's a Shane Spencer coming up, or Steve Labonte's around. So you just quickly go on to the next great big thing. But I always wanted to look back to see why it happened and what happened. What caused the player to not achieve what we all knew the player would do? So I always go back and I always look at the rabbit trails behind things, and that's kind of what caused me to write this book.
Boy, well done. The first one that jumped out at me is Josh Booty, Booty, and I remember him coming up, being the first pick by the Marlins, a football player out of LSU and state of Louisiana. And what a story Josh Booty is. Just summarize a little bit of that one, because that's where you start in chapter 1. It's an incredible story.
Well, I always loved the players that had the hard choice to make between sports, because Bo Jackson was huge when I was a kid, Deion Sanders. So these great athletes that could do more than one sport. And Josh Booty was really the king of that. He was All-American in football in high school. He was absolutely the top quarterback that you could see at the time. Then also in baseball. Baseball was more or less his second sport. Josh Booty was such a big-time high school prospect for college that he was voted on by the Parade All-American to have they picked the All-Century high school quarterback team, and it was Joe Namath, John Elway, and Josh Booty.
Wow. Okay.
So think about that. Like, what does not belong in that group now that you look back at it? And that's the kind of magnitude that Josh Booty was with football. But then the 1993 Junior Olympics happened, and his roommate happened to be Alex Rodriguez. And people forget how great of a high school quarterback Alex Rodriguez was. And he was going through a hard choice about whether to go to Miami, University of Miami, and play quarterback, or go ahead and just give it up and be the number one pick in the Major League Draft. So during the 1993 Junior Olympics, it was still up in the air about what A-Rod would do, if he would actually sign a contract with the Mariners or not. And A-Rod and Booty were roommates, and they talked a lot about baseball and football and the choices that it was. And more or less, A-Rod really wanted to play football. And Booty loved football, but he understood the how much longer he could play baseball and how much easier it would be on his body. So in retrospect, one went baseball, one kind of played baseball, then said, nope, I miss football too much, then he went back to football. And that's what happened to Josh Booty. He couldn't split the baby, so to speak, so he ended up giving half to both, and it didn't quite work out for him.
Wow, great story. Patrick Montgomery is the author here. The first one is about Josh Booty, and he ended up playing in the NFL for a few years. Never got in a game, but he was a backup quarterback, and other parts of the family ended up at USC and LSU. And boy, he is a legend in Louisiana. But the story is what happened in baseball, and I think you explained it well. His heart just wasn't in it. And he went back to football, and that's what happened to the great Josh Booty. Boy, I remember that one. There's another one that I actually remember was David Clyde, Clyde. And David Clyde was a high school phenom from the city of Houston, and the Texas Rangers drafted him number 1 in 1973. And I'll give this little background that I remember. And Bob Short was the owner of the Texas Rangers. They had just moved to Dallas, and he was going bankrupt. And he needed a ticket. He needed someone to bring people into the ballpark. And he picked David Clyde number 1. And then 3 weeks after basically high school ended, he started a major league game. All right. And that's the David Clyde story. And Patrick Montgomery writes a great book about this. Of course, David Clyde, I remember that, and he then had a very mediocre major league career, but the expectation was tremendous. And that's the story of the book. Ben Grieve is in there. Of course, we remember him from the A's days when he came up, and boy, his first game with 3 doubles or something, his first game, and Dan Pasqua and Brian Taylor, that pick from the Yankees who hurt his shoulder, and Brian Milner, remember him, I think for the Braves and maybe for Seattle. But as I hold it up on the stream, it's Baseball Expectations. It's really a good book of stories of what happens in baseball. Not everyone turns out to be a star. So it's a good one. David up at the Book Tree in Montclair has got it. And, of course, it's put out by Roman and Littlefield. And I'm glad to have Patrick Montgomery on the show. All right, more coming up. Vince Contronio is going to join us next. He's a play-by-play radio voice of the Oakland A's, and the Brewers are there playing the A's. So I want to talk some ball with Vinny and find out a little bit about the Brewers, too. More coming up right after this.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Another year of baseball, America's favorite pastime. Baseball is rich in tradition. It's full of history. And so are the Georgie brothers. They've served the Bay Area for over 90 years. The 50,000-square-foot showroom, which I mention all the time, is full of some of the finest manufacturers of furniture, carpets, and window coverings. Now, here we go. One of the most popular furniture lines that I love, you know it, is Stressless. Stressless makes high-quality, comfortable furniture, including sectional sofas, love seats, single reclining chairs, as well as the famous Stressless chair in Ottoman, and that's what I got. Starting August 9th and running all the way until August 26th, there's a new Stressless promotion. We call it the Wing Promotion. During this sale, you'll receive a $500 instant savings on every wing-style chair and ottoman in Paloma leathers. It's an unbelievable savings. This is one of the largest sales events Stressless Furniture offers throughout the year. So that's Georgie Brothers. It's Georgie Brothers Furniture. The showroom is in South San Francisco, the best source for home furnishings. Visit them at georgiebrothers.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. And remember, tell them that Marty sent you.
Giants fans, there's no better way to set the game day table than talking baseball with Marty Lurie. Marty keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, Giants lineup is out, and it's the typical one against the right-hander. Fitzgerald, Wade, Ramos, Conforto, Chapman, Yaz, Estrada, McRae, and Casale doing the catching. He likes to catch Robbie Ray. Vince Contronio joins us. He's one of the play-by-play voices of the Oakland Athletics. Vinny's been here many, many, many years. And Vinny, glad to have you on the show today. How are you?
I'm good, Marty. It's good to finally catch up with you. It's been far too long. I wish we could do this face-to-face.
Well, we'll do FaceTime if you want to do that. Raph can arrange that. Raph can do anything. All right.
I do that mostly with my grandson these days, but we'll catch up at some point down in Arizona, I'm sure.
I'm more articulate than your grandson.
That's debatable.
I hope. All right. You're having quite a weekend. Tell the fans about it. This is a very special weekend for you.
Well, yeah. Looking at the calendar and looking at the schedule before the season even began, I saw that the A's are playing the Milwaukee Brewers on a weekend here at the Coliseum. And my son, Dominic, works for the Brewers. He does their pre and post on radio. He's their TV researcher and statistician for Bally, and he's the TV researcher for the TBS game of the weekend, their playoffs as well. So it was an opportunity for Dominic, who doesn't travel normally with the team, but he wanted to come out and pay his final respects to the Coliseum. And he's been coming out here since he was 12, back in 2006 when it all started for us. And so we were looking forward to that on the calendar. My wife, Veronica, came. Our youngest daughter, Sophia, was here. And Dominic's girlfriend came as well. So it was a great opportunity just to be together and gather at a place where Dominic had a lot of great memories going back to when he first got here and taking ground balls from Wash, and then being here when Hamilton dropped the ball and getting a chance to sit in the PR area during the playoffs and help out the PR department with the playoffs and all that. So he had a great time. And then as we got closer to this particular weekend, Delaire Lors, who's my broadcast coordinator, he said, hey, what do you think about maybe doing a game with Dominic? And for that to happen, a lot of people had to kind of sign off on it, including, my main partner, Ken Korak, as you know, and Johnny Dosco. So they were kind enough to say, this makes a lot of sense. Let's have some fun. And so Dominic and I got to do the game yesterday together on radio, and it was just a blast. We've done spring training before, as Ace fans who listen to us know, but we had never done a regular season game before. And it just, I've told you this before, I think Dominic, not just as his dad, but as somebody that's in the industry, I think he's enormously talented. I think he's a modern broadcaster because he understands the analytics, and he makes them come to life in a way that anybody can understand that. It's not necessarily, the kind of mumbo jumbo that kind of makes all of our heads explode at times. So he brings it for a normal fan to understand, and we had a great time. It was a fun day. It was a fun family day. Went to San Francisco, went to our favorite Chinese place, Henry's Hudon, had some Mitchell's ice cream last night. So it was just a great weekend, and very thankful to the A's for allowing that to happen, and it was just a lot of fun.
Oh, terrific. Great story. Vince Contronio with us talking about his son Dominic, who's there, of course, with the Brewers. Vinny, this is your last year with the A's, and I know the A's didn't renew the contract in Sacramento and all that. How do you feel about that? And, of course, being part of the Bay Area for so long, I know you love it here.
I do. My family grew up around the Oakland A's. I said that, when I put out, my statement in early July about that. My kids grew up here, we're talking about Dominic, and even when it was announced back in April that the A's were going to Sacramento, the A's had begun their first road trip of the year in Detroit. It was the first road game of the year, and I went on the air. Ken was not with us, and I just simply spoke from the heart, saying, this is tough on everybody, including myself. I mean, my family has memories. My son started, coming here, like I said, 12. Now he's almost 30. Our oldest daughter now is giving us a grandson, and our youngest daughter is still upset at Billy Beane for training UNS Cespedes. I mean, they have those kinds of memories about the Coliseum, and this area meant an awful lot to me. Getting a chance to reach out to a lot of nonprofit groups that needed their voice to be heard with some of the enormous work that they do on the front lines, trying to make the East Bay a special place for people to live and a special place for people to feel like they've got hope. And we had a chance to do that for several years, and just being a part of A's history. Getting a chance to do all that research on the teams of the '70s and then the teams of the late '80s into the into the '90s and then into the 2000s. There's so much rich history here. And I was thankful that I had a chance to kind of explain some of those different moments in time here, those little capsules for fans that have been coming out since 1968. Yeah, I mean, this place means a lot to me. I mean, I didn't know I was going to get 19 years here. I'm very thankful that I got that. I was out of baseball for 2 years after spending 13 in Texas with the Astros and the Rangers. So the fact that opportunity presented itself, I was already a close friend of Ken's, and then we just became even closer through our partnership on the air and meeting so many great people up here like yourself. It it's been a fun time. It's going to get a little more emotional as we get into this final month of baseball. But sometimes you don't always get what you want, and certainly I feel like I could still do games at a very high level. I love the game. I still like being around it. And if there's something else around the corner, we'll see. And if not, then we'll move on to the next phase of our lives and enjoy that as well.
Wow. I love having you on. You've been great with me, and I was still there doing the A's pregame in 2006, and you would come out and be on the show with me all the time, and you're the one who told me that baseball is a talking sport.
We had some great conversations together, Marty. I just enjoy sitting next to you because I know we both have a passion for the sport, a passion for the history and what this game has meant over generations. And you were such a great ambassador on this side of the Bay, and when you got a chance to go over to the other side of the Bay and kind of expand a little bit of your work and your audience, those folks realized how lucky we had it over here with you, chronicling what was happening with the A's, and then you got a chance to be part of those great runs in 10, 12, and 14. So the Giants are lucky to have you, still have you, even in a limited role, because you've got a chance to just kind of pick and choose what you want to do. But some Marty is better than no Marty on that side of the Bay. I can promise you that. And I cherish your friendship. During the season and during the off season, we have a lot of great conversations and discussions, and sometimes even arguments in a good way. And I'll miss that on this scale. Hopefully, it'll be a chance for that to return. And if not, we'll continue our friendship in other ways.
Well, absolutely. Love having you on. Look forward to next year having you on a lot. You're a wonderful baseball analyst. You know the Bay Area, and you're a good voice in the Bay Area, and you're good. And I'd be thrilled to have you as part of our show next year. I'd love to do it. We'll talk about it. All right, very good. Now, what about the Brewers? Giants go in and see the Brewers this week. What should we expect?
Well, I'll tell you this. Just in the two games I've seen from their club, you look at their roster and you look at the names, they don't necessarily jump off the page, except for, Willie Adames, who's, third in the league in RBIs. Their all-star is William Contreras. But other than that, there are some of the parts, very athletic. They score runs and they add on. They walk. They don't chase a lot. Their bullpen is outstanding. And, they're a great story, Marty. They've had, 17 starting pitchers. They traded Burns. They lost Woodruff. Then you've got a guy named Colin Ray, who's a 34-year-old journeyman who won his 12th game yesterday for them. They've done a remarkable job of playing well together for their first-year manager in Pat Murphy. So it's going to be a challenge for San Francisco, because I think Milwaukee does. They do a lot of things that we talk about in our league, in the American League, that the Tampa Bay Rays have done in their heyday. And they just find a way to get the most out of their players. They're very athletic in the outfield, a lot of speed. And an example, Marty, is, a couple of nights ago, Max Schumann laid down a bunt single, and the ball was thrown away by the third baseman up the first baseline. And Max tried to get the third, and he was thrown out by Sal Frelick on a tremendous throw in foul territory near the Brewers bullpen. But what made that play special for them, and it speaks to their baseball IQ, is even as Schumann was squaring the bunt and had not even made contact yet, Frelick was already breaking in to back up just in case. And you don't just necessarily see that on a regular basis. You know that, Marty. Just to see guys that get it, understand it, and squeeze the most out of their ability. That was, I thought, it was in a spot that really shined on what the Brewers do well. It's going to be a tough matchup for them. And plus, the Brewers are chasing to get the bye. They're trying to overtake Philadelphia and pass them to have the bye in the first round of the playoffs. So they've got something still to play for, even with their large lead in the Central.
Boy, Vince Contronio, good report. Where are they vulnerable? If you had to say, well, if you do this against the Brewers, righty, lefty, do they have a spot where they're vulnerable?
Well, on paper, they don't hit a lot of home runs, but they get on base. They steal a lot of bases. They just create, Marty. And like I said, the two victories they've had in this series, they haven't rested on the laurels of one big inning. They've added on in multiple innings after that, and that's the sign of a good team. That, again, they make contact. They make you make plays. So, is there a vulnerability? I'm sure there is. I haven't seen it yet. Certainly Dominic would be, more well-versed in how to break it down to that level. But from what I've seen, they're a very good team.
Ah, great. Well, good report. Vinny, great having you on. I wish you a lot of luck, and I mean it. I look forward to continuing our relationship on the air. You're a solid baseball guy, and it's been a pleasure. So I wish you the best in luck, and I'm glad that you could do a game with Dominic. How about that? Does he say, hey, Dad, I don't think you know what you're talking about?
I'm scoring the game, using ink and paper, and he's scoring the game on an iPad. That's all you need to know. That's the difference in the generations, Marty. But thanks so much for having me. I cherish your friendship very much, and look forward to catching up at some point again, face to face.
Good. I can relate to that. All right, Vinny, have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that is Vince Contronio. All right, Giants-Mariners coming up, and we'll be back with you next weekend. It's the Marlins in town next weekend, so we've got a lot of baseball this week. As Vinny said, 3 with the Brewers, and then the Marlins next weekend. Then it's Arizona, and it's September baseball next Sunday. So a lot going on. It's a good time of year to be a baseball fan, and the Giants, the pressure's on. They just have to keep winning. Keep winning. I'm telling you, Atlanta's not going to run away with this thing. They're just not. They don't score enough runs for me. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Coming up next, Walter Ikabalseta coming up next right here with our Giants warm-up on the Sports Leader. Have a good Sunday, everybody.
Seam heads, start cracking those peanuts and spitting those seeds, because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one, deep right field, gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants warm-up.
Way back there, goodbye!
On the Sports Leader.
The 1-0 pitch. Ground ball to shortstop. Charged by Fitzgerald. Here's the off balance. Throw to first in time for the out, and the Giants have won it. There was a sense of urgency there for Fitzgerald to charge that ball with Rosarena having speed. And then he made the jump pivot and snap throw to first to get him. And the Giants hang on. And another great performance here at home by Ryan Walker. And that will set up the rubber match of the 3-game series tomorrow, with Robbie Ray going in that one for the Giants. Giants 4 and the Mariners 3. That's the final.
What's up, Giants fans, and welcome to the Giants warm-up show on KNBR, the Sports Leader. I'm your host, Walter Ikabalseta, taking you all the way up to first pitch, the rubber match. You heard it there with John Miller on the call yesterday, not last night, but yesterday, early day game in Seattle. The rubber match today between the Giants and the Mariners. First pitch today at 1:10, so we'll take you all the way up to that in Seattle. And making his return to Seattle, you heard it there also, Robbie Ray, who is coming off of probably one of his best performances in a Giants uniform last week against the Chicago White Sox. Went 7 innings, 9 Ks, looked really good. And yeah, you just want to get further removed from that last start that he had previous. I'm not even going to talk about it, not going to go into depth, but Robbie Ray is on the mound today, and Brian Wu opposes him, the Bay Area native, the kid from Oakland, California, went to Cal Poly. He is a solid pitcher, so we're going to dive into that and unpack that before we get out of here. But let's just start by saying Friday night did sting. I wasn't on yesterday, and coming off of that game where the Giants just did everything in their power offensively and with the pitching staff, with Birdsong, he went really, he did a good job, went 4 innings. And then the bullpen kind of backed them up a little bit up until that dreadful 8th inning. But you heard it there last night with Ryan Walker, and Ryan Walker kind of came in and saved the day on that game as well. And it's just, it's, as we go through a major league season, there are storylines that develop, and there are guys that step up to the plate, and you kind of go into the next season and thinking that, wow, this guy can be something. And I think Ryan Walker did that last year, where you saw what he could do, and then now you see that in a different role and kind of being that stopper in the back end of the bullpen. And now you see him in getting save opportunities. So I'm really comfortable with that back end of the bullpen now with Ryan Walker back there. It's just a matter of getting to that position. But man, so that was Friday, and then you go into yesterday, and if you were to tell me right off the rip, if you were to project that Blake Snell would go out there and only give you 3 innings, I would think that we'd be talking about a loss this morning. But the Giants were able to score enough runs, and really the bullpen. I mean, that's kind of the silver lining of what has happened down the stretch, or most of this year, that this bullpen has been a lot better. They've been used heavily when you look at Tyler Rogers, and when you look at Ryan Walker. I mean, they have the most appearances, tied for the most appearances in Major League Baseball. But when you see Spencer Bibbins come out and do what he needed to do and pitch 3 innings of solid baseball, and then you throw in Jordan Hicks and Camilo Doval comes back in a different role, and he looks determined to be on that mound and do anything that it takes to put this team in a better position to win. So when you see that kind of performance, that gutsy performance from this team, it does let you kind of believe a little bit when you look at this team moving into this game today, the rubber match, to where they can still, again, despite everything that happened on Friday, and despite Blake Snell having quite arguably his worst outing since returning from the injured list on July 9th, because he has been rolling. He has been throwing a lot of pitches. Most of his outings have gone 100 pitches and higher since July 9th. So you have that happen yesterday, and it's kind of a moment where, oh crap, like you're watching the game, and you're just like, oh man, like here we go. This is going to be a rough one because Blake Snell, he had a rough second inning. He just couldn't get the ball over the plate. There was a lot of walks, 5 walks in that inning, to where he walked in 2 runs, and he ends up exiting the game after the 3rd inning, and no hits, but gave up 2 runs, 2 earned runs. So yeah, when you look at that line, it's such a weird line, so interesting. But I would think that the Giants would have kind of gotten a gut punch, right? Because when you have your ace, when you have your star pitcher and going out there like a Logan Webb start, like a Blake Snell start, you just expect for your team to be in it. And when your captain, when your leader exits the game early and only goes 3 innings, I can only imagine what is going through the minds of the Giants clubhouse, of that dugout yesterday, to where, oh man, we need to pick it up. And that's exactly what they did. They scored early, so that's something that I would definitely look for the Giants offense to continue to do, is to score early, especially against Brian Wu, because Brian Wu, the first time through the lineup, he's nails. I mean, he's a really good pitcher, so they're going to have their hands full. But if you can get out in front in the count, Brian Wu, I mean, he just dominates when he's ahead in the count. And I believe when he's ahead in the count, he has 47 strikeouts and is only allowing like a 150 batting average. So you don't want that to happen. Giants bats need to be aggressive. But again, despite everything, despite Blake Snell not pitching up to par, what we have seen that he is capable of doing over this entire run since he came back from the injured list, despite everything that happened on Friday, the Giants can still win this series. And that's the big thing. And that's what we have to look forward to, is that the Giants need to just continue to win series. That is what they need to do. I understand that when you start looking at the standings, and right now going into the game, it looks like they could be 4.5 games out. Not going to speak before the end of that game, but the Brewers, or I'm sorry, the Braves, they're losing right now to the Washington Nationals 4-1 at the going into the 8th inning. So if the Braves are able to lose, right, the Giants just need to take care of what they need to do and take care of winning series, because going into this weekend series, the Giants needed to go in the last 33 games. They needed to go 22-11 to catch that pace of what the Braves were at, and that's 86-87 wins. So the 22-11 has now shifted to 21-10. Yeah, I could do math on the fly, but 21-10 is what is needed. And what that simply means is that the Giants need to win series one after the other. And I mean, we've been talking about how daunting that September schedule is. It does get a pretty daunting. I mean, right now, I mean, they're battling in Seattle. I think that they're pretty evenly matched because they're kind of the same team in a way. I would think that the Mariners have a little bit of a better starting pitching staff than the Giants have right now, but their offense lacks. They can't hit, and that's why Friday was such a gut, just a blow to the Giants, is that the Giants were dominating that game on Friday for 8 innings, right? I mean, seven innings. The Giants were dominating that, and they came out with a loss. So that's why yesterday was so huge, in that they were able to get a win, and now they still have that opportunity to win series. So if they continue to win series and just keep moving, and I know that the Brewers are coming up, you got a series against Miami when you come home. So that's a series that the Giants need to dominate. That is a series that I think at this point in the season, and I believe that the urgency level is there for this club. But that's a series when you come back home and you play Miami. That's a series that the Giants need to absolutely dominate and potentially sweep if they can. So that's going to be that, and that can change the dynamic a little bit. That can give you a little bit of wiggle room. But the Giants need to take care of what they need to do. We've focused so much on the Braves and what the Braves need to do. Giants need help from the outside, but all of that, it doesn't matter if the Giants don't continue to win series, and they have that opportunity to do so today. So let's talk about yesterday a little bit. The Giants are going for the series. They're giving themselves a chance. They have Robbie Ray on the mound today, and yesterday the Giants offense. The Giants offense got 11 hits. That's incredible. This offense is much better on the road. We all know that. But the fact that they have been able to string together a lot of hits, and you see Mike Yastrzemski, you see Tyler Fitzgerald, you saw Matt Chapman get that sac fly in the first inning. That was huge, and that's a big thing. Is that keep that momentum going, because of their 9 runs that they've scored in Seattle, they have scored 6 in innings 1 through 5. So they just have to keep that going, especially today against Brian Wu, who, again, you want to jump out in front of that first pitch, because if you get deeper into the counts, Brian Wu is very difficult to hit. So the Giants are going to want to be ultra aggressive in this one. But Matt Chapman, he came up with that sac fly. Randy Arozarena, I forgot that he was on the Mariners. I forgot that went down, but Randy Arozarena had made that incredible catch in the first inning to hold the scoring to just 1 run to make it a sac fly. Because if he would have dove and he didn't catch it, that would have been two runs immediately for the Giants. So you look at that in the first inning, and then Tyler Fitzgerald, he gets that RBI single down the left field line. That time, Randy Arozarena could not catch it. It was a line drive that was into shallow left field. Strato scored from second. And again, the second inning was just bad for Blake Snell. He just could not find control of his pitches, issued 5 walks in the inning, and through 40 pitches. That is just incredible. So let's go to the man himself, Blake Snell. He talks about his performance yesterday on the mound.
Didn't feel my best self. Got to find a way to get deeper in the game. I had a 40-pitch inning, but that's why the game's beautiful. There's always something to work on, something to learn, something that I could have told myself to make that inning quicker, attack the zone. There's a lot of things, yeah, but happy with the third inning. That was probably the inning I felt best. Finally in the zone attacking. Direction was better. Wasn't around the ball, but got to make adjustments quicker to allow myself to get deeper in the game. So it's a weird one, but we'll learn from it, get better.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't in front of a TV watching it. I was box score watching, and I saw that he exited. I didn't look at the pitch count or anything like that. I saw the walks, so I thought it was alarming. So I kind of figured that he had high pitch count at that point, but I saw that he exited after the third inning, and I was just like, what is going on? Like my heart dropped a little bit to where I thought that there was something injury based, but it's it was just mechanics. It was control. And Blake Snell, I don't have any concerns moving forward. I mean, it's just a rough outing. And I mean, you look at what Blake Snell has done up to this point. He has just been pitching really, really well to where this kind of outing is just like it's out of the norm. And maybe that's just an anomaly, and he'll get back to it when he is called upon. I believe he'll be pitching when the Giants come back. I don't think that he'll be pitching in Milwaukee, but they do have that off day, so maybe they can get him in there on Thursday. But so Bob Melvin, he kind of talks about Blake Snell a little bit and his fatigue factor and whether or not that was playing into yesterday's game, because again, Blake Snell, we know the book on him is that he typically goes 5 innings, but over the recent surge of his last outings, he has gone 6 innings quite frequently. So just with that, and you factor in the pitch count and everything like that, Blake Snell has been taxed as of late. He has been having to go out there and perform at a very, very high level to keep this Giants team within scoring distance, or within scoring distance, yes, but within striking distance of that wild card. So Bob Melvin talks about Blake Snell and how he was dealing with a little bit of fatigue yesterday.
Blake is fine. You know what? It's just a lot of innings here recently kind of added up for him. Obviously didn't have his command in the second. Called it a day a little bit early for him and gave him a little bit of a break. He's been pitching deep in games, throwing a ton of pitches. Just felt pretty sluggish from the start today, as far as his body goes. So that's why we did that.
Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see how Blake Snell is managed down the stretch run here, because they are going to need every single pitch, every single outing for Blake Snell if they are going to want to, again, try to win series and keep pace and in hopes of passing the Braves for that final wild card spot. Let's go really quick. I mean, the big story of the game, I mean, we talked about Blake Snell. We talked about some of the offense, but the big story here was the bullpen. The bullpen was lights out again. If you were to tell me that Blake Snell was only going 3 innings yesterday, I would not think that we'd be talking about a win. But Spencer Bivens, he goes out there, he throws 3 innings, 3 solid innings, followed by Jordan Hicks. He goes in there, and Camilo Doval and Ryan Walker caps it off. And Blake Snell kind of acknowledges his guys and how much that might, gel this team together and have that camaraderie in that you go out there and you're pitching well all these outings before yesterday, and then you have a rough one, but your teammates pick you up. And Blake Snell was talking about how relieved he was, how Bivens came in and was pretty much the stopper after he exited the game.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah, it sucks when you gotta, make your teammates do stuff that they shouldn't be doing. So for him to do that, it's huge. But on my part, it's frustrating that I put him in that position. So we all know he can do that. So it's big that he did that when we needed him to. But hopefully, I don't put him in that position anymore.
So now what that does is, it's the as you translate to today's game, as you translate to the rubber match between the Giants and the Mariners, it's the bullpen has been used. The bullpen has been used yesterday and today. The good thing, or I guess the thing that you look towards a starter like Blake Snell, like Logan Webb, is that when they go, you hope for a reset of your bullpen. You hope for them to go deeper into games, go 6, possibly 7. I know Logan Webb is more the guy that goes 7 or 8. But that's kind of what you're looking for in your starter, especially these type of guys with Blake Snell and Logan Webb. So that kind of translates to today. We know Robbie Ray has been recovering from Tommy John surgery, and it's kind of been up and down performances where the start before the Braves, he looked really, really good, and then you go against the Braves and couldn't get out of the first inning. It was just a rough outing. And then he goes against the White Sox and goes seven strong innings. I believe he only gave up 3 hits and issued nine strikeouts. So it's going to be a lot on Robbie Ray's plate today because of the usage of the bullpen. And prior to just these 2 days, the Giants bullpen has been taxed, been using the most amount of innings in all of baseball. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Bob Melvin is able to, assuming that Robbie Ray can go out there and give you solid 5-6 innings, how he's able to maneuver the bullpen as we get into the late innings. But it makes everything easier if the Giants can just score. They have been a lot better on the road this year. They do hit a lot better on the road, so we'll hope to see that continue. And then when they go to Milwaukee, I mean, that's a hitter's park. So you would love to see that kind of start now and go into the rest of the week, because the Giants have been home run happy. I mean, a lot of those runs on Friday, they were all scored, actually. All of those 5 runs on Friday, they were all scored by the long ball. So we know that the Giants are capable of it. You don't want them to be too reliant on the long ball, but they do hit better on the road, especially when it comes to their power numbers. So we will continue to talk about the Giants and the Mariners coming up next. And we'll get you the lineup. Lineup is out, and we will discuss how the Giants can get to Brian Wu on the other side. And your calls, 415-808 KNBR. That's 415-808-5627. Go ahead and give me your thoughts on the Giants as they try to end this series on a high note and get that series win and just continue to stack them as the season goes on. Because if they do that, then they have a shot. They just have to take care of it. Don't worry about anything else that's going on in the wild card. You got to look at what's in front of you and take care of business. And that's what the Giants look to do in Seattle today. So we will continue the conversation on the other side. You are listening to the Giants warm-up show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Now, back to the show built for the orange and black family. This is Giants Warm-Up on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, welcome back to the Giants Warm-Up Show on KNBR, the sports leader. The Giants are going for the series win in Seattle. Robbie Ray on the mound against Bryan Woo. Bryan Woo is a phenomenal pitcher. Giants lineup is out, and they're going to have their hands full today when they're going against the Mariners starting pitcher. So let's go with the lineup today, and much of the same against a righty. Nothing's really changed, but let's give it to you here. Hitting leadoff is Tyler Fitzgerald with that speed at the top of the lineup. At shortstop, you have Lamont Wade Jr. in the 2-hole batting or at first base. Elliot Ramos batting third in left field. You have Michael Conforto batting fourth in the cleanup spot at the DH spot. There is a reason for that because he is probably one of the hotter batters on the road in the last 10 games. He is hitting .371 with 4 home runs, and he did have one in his return to Seattle on Friday. So hopefully that can translate and guys can get on base in front of him. So he's batting fourth in the DH spot, Michael Conforto. Matt Chapman is batting fifth at third base. Mike Yastrzemski, who hit a home run yesterday, we'll get to him in a little bit. But Mike Yastrzemski batting sixth in right field. Tyro Estrada batting seventh at second base. Grant McCray, the speedster out there in center field, batting eighth. And Kirk Casale rounding it all up at the 9th spot behind the dish catcher. So you got Fitzgerald, Wade, Ramos, Conforto, Chapman, Yaz, Estrada, McCray, and Casale. And we did talk about the home run success of Michael Conforto on the road. Again, 4 home runs with a couple of 4 doubles, not a couple, 12 RBIs. And he's hit a lot better on the road than he has at Oracle Park. So you look for him to be kind of the catalyst for this Giants offense against Bryan Woo. But we talked about Mike Yastrzemski. Mike Yastrzemski hit a home run yesterday. It wasn't the game-ending blow by any means, but it did add some separation from the Giants and the Mariners yesterday. A low line drive to right field, and Mike Yastrzemski did joke post-game that he was glad that he weren't at Oracle because, I mean, that probably would have been an out if it was hit in right field at Oracle. But here's what that home run yesterday sounded like.
1-2 pitch. Yaz bounce one down the right field line. A whistler. That one is gone. A home run. I thought it was going to be off the wall or maybe up against the wall somehow, and it snuck over the wall down the right field line, and it's 4-2 Giants. So Yastrzemski defied the odds on that one. A low line drive that just would not get down. His 10th home run of the year.
10th home run of the year, a big one yesterday, extended the Giants' lead to 2 runs. And yeah, it was a low line drive and got out of there in a hurry. It did not look like it was going to clear the fence, but it ultimately did. And that home run went for 346 feet. And that detailed measurement is sponsored by Abundant Life Weight Loss. Call 925-594-4110 to start your journey today. So Mike Yastrzemski goes ahead and then adds to his home run total. He now has 10, and we're just hoping, because he did have a double and he scored a couple of times yesterday. We're just hoping that offense can translate down the stretch, because the Giants are going to need everybody on deck for them to score as many runs as possible. And he is currently in that 6th spot in the lineup. So let's go out to the phone lines. I want to hear your thoughts on the Giants as the Giants go into this game trying to win a series, and that is what they need to do down the stretch of the season. Just have to keep winning series, and then they have a shot. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Worry about what's in front of you, and that is today the Mariners. So let's go out to the phone lines. Let's talk to Mike in San Francisco. Mike, always look forward to our conversations, man. Welcome to the Giants warm-up show. How are you doing today, man?
Doing fine. It's a gorgeous day, Walter. Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, man. The Giants got a win, much needed win yesterday, especially how Friday went. And now they're trying to go for a series win, man. So despite everything that happened, they're still in a good position to get that series win.
Yeah, I was half joking with you when I called, or when we were talking, and I was saying I call in to get my season review today, but it will be of sorts.
Okay.
I got something wrote down. I'm sticking with my guns. Opening day, 86 wins projection for us, and that's what it's going to take, I still think, to get in the playoffs, given that we're game back on Atlanta with the tiebreaker. But I'll leave them out of it. That means we'd have to go 20-11. It seems pretty wild that we play 6:45 ball from the day on. Won't sugarcoat it. You know, we could just go out there and win every series. But, you know, not all that likely. We'll see how it goes. Looking at it from a different angle or plane, whatever you want to call it, I'd say we've got so much young talent on this team. Bailey, Fitzgerald, Ramos, Lee, Matos, McCray, a dynamic young staff already making their mark in the majors. Plenty to look forward to from here on out and beyond. Talking about Eldridge, Crawford, Wisenhunt, Martin, heck. We got Encarnacion still on the team. Meckler and Brown are down there. Who knows if Schmidt puts it together? Wisely and Auerbach. Some other guys I'm forgetting. But the good thing I could say today is even if Chapman, Snell, Conforto, Yaz are not Giants next season, even if so, the young players who've gotten a chance to see them work and work alongside with them will have better futures because of their association with these guys. It's I also want to mention that Johnny Cueto and Ryan Vogel's song I read helped Camilo Duvall while he was in Sacramento. So my point being, you could see that those relationships tend to last. That's pretty cool. I'm going to be watching some minor leagues like Tibbs and Jordan. What are your thoughts on the expanded roster soon and us getting those 4 stolen bases last night, and with all these fresh legs and lots of catchers wearing down? How do you think that, you know, that might play in the rest of the way here with us looking to bunt as well from what we've seen?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up, great points, Mike, and thank you for the call. Just when you look at this Giants team and how they're constructed, and you mentioned a couple of guys there with Fitzgerald, with, McCray, and even Matt Chapman. I mean, you can say Matt Chapman as well. When he came over in the offseason when he was signed, he added a lot of athleticism, and I think that's the silver lining that I'm looking at this Giants team now is that they're getting a little bit more athletic, and that's definitely what they need to do. I know that everyone, fans, they fantasize about the home run ball and the power numbers, and I understand that. That's kind of where the game has kind of taken a turn in what we see in the major leagues. But this Giants team, they need to get more athletic. So I love that Tyler Fitzgerald is up here and doing what he's doing. I know he's kind of fallen off a little bit. He's not hitting as red hot as he was, but I mean, what he was doing over that stretch of just hitting home run after home run after home run, I mean, that was just incredible. So yeah, he's not going to do that every single day, but the fact that when he does get on base, and I believe he had 2 stolen bases yesterday, and he has 4 stolen bases, 1 caught stealing over the last week. So Tyler Fitzgerald is definitely someone that I think if he can put together solid, consistent at-bats, that he factors into this Giants' future plans, because the athleticism just needs to be there. You have to have that with this Giants team and be able to, if you get on base and you can steal a base and get yourself into scoring position and just make it that much easier. And then that does factor in a bunt. I know that that's not something that the Giants do too much, but maybe that's something that will come back in the future. I don't know. It's just, the game of baseball has just completely changed of what it was maybe 10 years ago. But when you start looking at this roster construction and you start mentioning, guys in the minor leagues, they have athleticism, right? Bryce Elders might be the only guy that isn't necessarily athletic, but he's the guy that brings pop, right? That's what he's supposed to be. So when you start to look at the roster construction, you got to get guys that are athletic, guys that can move well on the base paths, and have one or two, maybe three thumpers in the lineup. But, something that Mike touched on there with Conforto and Chapman and Snell potentially not being with the Giants next year, I would say, we've talked about it last week, is the most important person moving forward that the Giants need to absolutely lock up is Matt Chapman, in my opinion, because Matt Chapman just adds so much. And you talk about the growing pains, you talk about these big leaguers just trying to learn how to play the game right. And who's better than to be in your ear and show you the way and show you the path than Matt Chapman? Matt Chapman is one of the most professional baseball players that I've seen in the Bay Area for quite some time. He's professional. He goes out there, he wears it. And he is a leader. He is a leader, and he can show these young guys the way. So especially with Fitzgerald being that guy at shortstop, being his kind of teammate on the same side of the field, I just feel like there's so much knowledge that Fitzgerald can get in his development that you can't necessarily replace. I know that this year has been very important for the development of Fitzgerald, and Matt Chapman is there. But I think that if Matt Chapman was to continue to be on this Giants team into the future, I just think that it helps you in the now, because he is a great defender. He puts the bat on the ball. He's the only Giants hitter in 20 home run range right now. So you look at what he can do, and I know the average isn't all the way up there, and everyone kind of gives him a knock on that. But we have to remember, Matt Chapman was hitting in the 4-hole, the 5-hole for the most part this season, even I think a couple times in the 3-hole. He's not that guy, but he needed to be that guy for this team. He's more of a 5-6, maybe a 7, maybe not as low as a 7, but a 6 is like a solid spot of where Chapman is. But just looking at the development for these young guys moving forward, I think that Chapman adds so much to the Giants team. So Mike, thanks for the call. Really appreciate it. Let's get out to one more call before we take a break. We have Todd in Fresno wants to talk about the Giants hitting. What's up, Todd? Welcome to the Giants warm-up show. How are you doing today, man?
Hey, thanks. First time calling this show, but Major League Baseball, the Giants should just get back to valuing batting average. The reason why they don't hit with scoring position is they don't put the ball in play, strike out way too much. To talk about Chapman is way too good of an athlete and player to be hitting consistently 220 and barely hitting 20 home runs. So they never change. I would sit there and say, this makes me really uncomfortable that I'm hitting 220 every year. And this is the biggest problem with baseball. George Brett would have never accepted 220. But today, we have 37 players that hit 270 or better in the big league. There's 30 teams. And they say these guys rake. 270 is really not, that's hitting 27% of the time. And I get it. They value on-base percentage, but, I would almost bet that a guy that hits 325, 330 is on base a lot. That's just, look, I know games change, but it's almost unwatchable sometimes.
Yeah, it's really incredible, and thanks for the call, Todd. Really appreciate it. It's so incredible of how much the game has changed, because what Todd was talking about is we're looking at a 270 hitter and thinking that they're the next Willie Mays, it's incredible how much the standard. But what Todd was talking about is the value isn't there for batting average anymore. The value is with home runs, and the value is with on base plus slugging. I mean, that's what everyone is kind of looking at. And there's been a discussion of, oh, well, the pitchers are much better than they were, years ago, and all of that discussion. But I just think that the approach at the plate has completely changed to where the pitchers are exploiting the holes in the swing, to where everyone's trying to get a launch angle. Everyone's trying to get that loft and get the ball in the air, and there's not that straight across the plane swing anymore in baseball. I mean, maybe the only guy that does that is Luis Ariz, and yeah, he leads the National League in batting average. So, I mean, yeah, it's really incredible to see how the game has changed. But Todd, thank you for the call. Really appreciate it. Giants do need to get back to that, because I do think that style of offense, that style of approach, it will play well, especially for this team who is trying to get more athletic. But just think about their home road splits. Just think about how they hit on the road versus how they hit at home. Being so reliant, again, they scored all of their runs on Friday, lost that game, but they scored all of that. They were in a position to win, but they scored all those runs via home run. And there's times where the Giants are just so reliant on that long ball. And, when you're not getting it, yeah, that's why you're not hitting with runners in scoring position, because everyone's trying to hit it out of the ballpark. So there does need to be a change in approach 100%. So we will continue to talk about the Giants and the Mariners, the rubber match today. Giants try to win that series and keep the ball rolling, because that's all they need to do. All they need to do is it sounds easier said than done, but all they need to do is continue to win series. They have that opportunity today in Seattle. Brian Wu versus Robbie Ray, the former Mariner. We'll talk about that a little bit more on the other side. You are listening to the Giants Warm-Up Show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Giants fans, first pitch isn't too far away as KNBR's Giants warm-up continues on the sports leader.
All right, welcome back to the Giants warm-up show. Giants enter the rubber match of this game with an opportunity to win the series. That's all they need to do. Robbie Ray on the mound against Brian Wu. Brian Wu just, I know I've been talking about him a little bit. He's not, Cy Young or anything. I'm just saying he is he's a tough customer in that his first time through the order, opposing hitters are only hitting 177 with 28 strikeouts. So keep that in mind. Hopefully the Giants can jump on top of that first pitch, which will most likely be the best pitch in the at-bat. I'm looking for the Giants to be way more aggressive at the plate today, not be passive and trying to get on base, because he doesn't walk guys. He just doesn't walk guys at all. So the approach has to be mightily changed today versus what we normally see with the Giants, in being patient, working the counts. Understand that, but the longer at-bats go with Brian Wu, the deeper counts go. And if he gets on top of you, if he gets ahead of the count, it's going to be a rough outing for the Giants. So they have to be aggressive, get on top of that first pitch, most definitely. Let's go out to the phone lines before we wrap things up. Giants and Mariners start at 1:10 first pitch, but the official pregame show kicks off in about 10 minutes, where we'll be talking with John Miller, and we'll get his thoughts on the rubber match as well. But let's go out to the phone lines, and let's talk to Jeff in Sebastopol. Jeff, what's up? Welcome to the Giants warm-up show. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, how you doing? Good show, by the way. Yeah, I was
man.
thinking
Appreciate
about, Farhan, and people get frustrated with this guy, but he's not an outlier. There's a lot of GMs like him. And I was reading the thing about at the deadline this year, there was no top 100 prospects traded. It's crazy. On one way, no one wants to make mistakes, but on the other hand, no one wants to make a splash and take a risk. And to me, it's they have a lot of information, all these GMs now, these new breed, I suppose, but nobody has vision. Come on. What do you want for your team? And if you swing and miss, I'll take that. But standing pat, it's so boring.
So you'd rather want the effort, and if they swing and miss, you'll deal with it. You just want to see the effort there.
Yeah, Brian Sabian, he didn't make all these great. He wasn't perfect, but he was pretty damn good. Al Rosen before him, he was pretty darn good. So the cat that's in San Diego, that GM, and the guy in Philadelphia, those guys seem to be more willing to take a chance. But not making a mistake is not a way to go through conducting your organization's baseball operations. It's just it's so boring, and everyone stays the same.
And I'd say going back and looking at Brian Sabian, I mean, what did he do that was a big, kind of a big mistake? And then I think a lot of Giants fans would immediately look to that trade, but they tried, right? In what was that? I think it was 2011, right? When Buster Posey got injured, they needed some pop offensively, and he went out there and said, okay, I'll trade Zach Wheeler, and we got Carlos Beltran. Now that was a situation, and I think now in today's day and age, I think why you don't see the aggressiveness is that there's so much information out there that we all know what's going on, and the prospects are highly touted. And Jeff, thank you for the call. But like, no one wants to have that Carlos Beltran for a couple of months and you trade away Zach Wheeler, and Zach Wheeler has been a phenomenal pitcher in the major leagues ever since. No one wants to be that Fernando Tatis trading away from the White Sox going over to the Padres. I mean, no one wants to have that mistake on their resume. So I understand what you're saying, Jeff. That's just the reality of it. And I think that there's so much stock that is put into prospects nowadays. Is that my thought on prospects has not changed since I've been a baseball fan. My thought on prospects is that's exactly what they are. They're prospects. You don't know what they're going to be. They can turn into being the greatest hitter of all time, or they can not be in the league 3-4 years from now. I mean, that's kind of swing and miss. There's so many guys that just don't make it in Major League Baseball. So yeah, the aggressiveness, you'd love to see that from GMs, but I just don't think that is in the cards. But Jeff, thank you so much for the call. Really appreciate it. Let's go out really quick to the standings update before we get out of here. Standings update sponsored by the Alameda County Probation Department. Join acpd.org for a career that matters. And when you look to the standings, the Giants have gained half a game. They haven't even played a game today. They gained half a game on the Atlanta. Yes. Thank you, Raph. Thank you. I appreciate it. Get it louder. Get it loud. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there it is. There it is. They gained half a game on the Atlanta Braves. The Braves dropped a game to the Nationals, 5-1. That game is officially gone final. Probably went final a little while ago, but I'm seeing it now. But when we go to the standings, brought to you by Alameda County Probation Department, the Giants are in the same boat that they've kind of been in, but now again they've gained half a game. They're currently 4.5 games out of that final wild card that belongs to the Braves. Sitting firmly atop the table is the Arizona Diamondbacks at 74-56. They are currently above that final wild card spot by 4 games. The Padres are in second place in the National League wild card at 73-58, and they are currently a game and a half behind the Diamondbacks, 2.5 above the Braves. Braves holding on to that final wild card spot in the National League, 70-60. So the Giants are 5 games behind them in the loss column, but currently 4.5. So if they can get this win today, they can get that number down to 4. But right in between the Braves and the Mets, Giants are going to need help. But again, they need to focus on what they need to do, and that's winning series and just control what they can do every single day. But the Giants, between the Giants and the Braves, you have the Mets, who are 68-62, 2 games back currently of the Braves. So we'll have to see how long the Braves can hold on to that spot. And then you have the Giants sitting there 1 game above 500, 66-65. And today they go to Robbie Ray. I've said it time and time again that the Giants are going to go as far as their starting pitching takes you. And that continues today with Robbie Ray on the mound going against Brian Wu. And we will get you out to the Giants pregame show officially kicking off in about 5 minutes. We'll talk to John Miller and get his thoughts as this rubber match continues, as this rubber match is about to get underway with the Giants and the Mariners. Giants want to get that series win. And you're listening to KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.